This boy woke up terrified in his own room. His body was younger. He had just been thrown 10 years into the past, right back to his college days. In this timeline, he was still weak, nothing but prey for the bullies who tormented him. But this time, it will be different. He is no longer the helpless victim they used to break, and they are about to find that out the hard way. Suddenly, Chen is caught off guard. A system window materializes right before his eyes, announcing, "The power of gluttony has been completed." The realization hits him like a concrete wall. He does the math. As of today, there are exactly 3 years left before the Demon Lord emerges on Earth. The first of them, the Demon of Wrath, will tear open the gates of hell itself, unleashing an infinite horde of interdimensional monsters to invade the planet. Inevitably, humanity is obliterated. Chen remembers it all perfectly. He was the absolute last survivor of the human race. He died in a final, brutal sacrifice, giving up his own life to take down the Demon Lord. Wasting no time trying to understand the miracle of his regression, Chen shifts his focus to what truly matters, deciphering the raw power floating inside that system window. The interface shifts and pulls up his current status. The data looks like something out of a game, but these are his real stats. He has never seen anything like this before because in his past life, he always fought using his awakened power directly. Only 1 in 10,000 people can become an awakened, and the institution that accepts only those with the potential is the National University of the Awakened. In his previous life, Si Chen never managed to awaken while at university. He spent 4 years at the very bottom of the food chain, where anyone could push him around. Then a new panel appears in front of him, showing his class from his past life, Electric Assassin. He can feel power flowing through his body and wonders if the strength from his previous life came back with him. Before he can test it, the interface begins cycling through classes. The moment is interrupted when the apartment door swings open. Ma Long, a flower enchanter of rank E, steps in looking surprised. He calls out that Si Chen is awake and asks if he is feeling all right. Si Chen confirms he is fine and quietly notes that the others cannot see the interface at all. Ma Long looks him over and points out that his injuries are completely gone, which is remarkable given the beating he took the day before. Si Chen recognizes his roommate. Ma Long awakened in university, but always ranked last in the class. In the previous timeline, he died just 3 days after the Demon Lords descended, but now he is alive, standing right here. Only now does Si Chen truly feel, in his bones, that he has actually come back. Ma Long puts a hand on his shoulder and reminds him that the level test is tomorrow. He tells Si Chen to rest up and get ready, because even without an awakening, the test still counts toward graduation. By evening, the city is full of life. People are out talking, relaxing, exercising, just living. Si Chen quietly remarks that it has been a long time since he has seen this many people alive. Ma Long suggests they take a walk around the field. As they walk, Si Chen reflects on what is at stake. He already lost once. If he does nothing, that same desperate future will come back. He has to act now and level up as fast as possible. He thinks through what he knows. In this era, the only way to gain levels is by defeating monsters inside demon lairs. But almost all of them are controlled by the major guilds, and outsiders have virtually no chance of getting in. He looks at his current attributes and wonders how they stack up against other awakened individuals and monsters. The government created a ranking system to measure strength, and most students sit at rank E, with only a few reaching rank D. He figures he can get a rough sense of his level from his experience points, and he is fairly certain he is already stronger than Ma Long. Before that thought goes any further, a ball flies across the field and hits Ma Long square in the face. His friend goes down groaning. A man on the court spots them both immediately and comments that they recovered surprisingly fast. Ma Long mutters that it is just their luck to run into this guy. Si Chen says nothing and simply stares at him. The man tells them he knows they saw him playing ball here, and yet they did not bring 2 cases of drinks. Ma Long immediately apologizes and offers to go buy them right now, but Si Chen steps forward and cuts him off, making it clear that Ma Long has nothing to apologize for, and that the ones who owe an apology are standing on that court. Memories from Si Chen's past flash through his mind. He is being held underwater, drowning, while a group of delinquents torments him in a bathroom. Ma Long begs them to stop, but the ringleader brushes it off, claiming he is actually doing Si Chen a favor. Since Si Chen had not awakened yet, a little provocation was supposedly in order. His crew laughs along, though one of them points out that Si Chen already passed out, which takes all the fun out of it. Ma Long crouches down and checks on Si Chen, while the protagonist, still on the ground, wonders out loud why these people can never just leave them alone. He mutters that pure malice does not only exist in demonic lairs. The delinquent catches that and asks if Si Chen just said something. If so, the beating continues. Back in the present, the same delinquent seems to be picking up where things left off. Ma Long has no idea what is being said. Then Gong Cheng, a rank E awakened with the flower attribute, starts gathering his ability in his hands. Si Chen sizes him up internally, noting that this guy only throws his weight around because his brother runs the student council as the strongest fighter in the school, though Si Chen does not think that reputation is all that impressive. The crowd around them laughs in anticipation, expecting Gong Cheng to put the two of them in the hospital again, calling them the most useless pair around. Gong Cheng steps right up to the protagonist and demands to know what he just said. Si Chen tells him plainly to stop bothering them from this point forward. That sets Gong Cheng off. He winds up a punch, calling Si Chen a piece of trash, and throws it. But Si Chen stops the blow cold with nothing but his fist, and the impact sends Gong Cheng stumbling back, clutching his wrist in pain. The crowd goes silent. Everyone is trying to process how Si Chen just blocked Gong Cheng's strike without having awakened at all. Gong Cheng is furious that someone who is not even awakened would dare stand up to him. Si Chen tells him that this is actually perfect, and that he will use Gong Cheng to run a test. He activates his class, tripling his speed and doubling his strength. Ma Long shouts in disbelief that Si Chen has actually awakened, while the protagonist settles into a fighting stance. Gong Cheng's anger spikes. He activates his indestructible demonic armor and taunts Si Chen, suggesting he has forgotten what his fist feels like. But before Gong Cheng can even react, Si Chen is already right in front of him, landing a clean cross directly to his face. Gong Cheng goes tumbling backward. The crowd cannot believe what they just saw. One punch did that. Ma Long stands there with his jaw on the floor. The onlookers start questioning whether this is even the same Si Chen they knew. Gong Cheng, picking himself up, accuses Si Chen of catching him off guard and calls out to his friends, asking if they are just going to stand there and watch. The white-haired one starts stuttering, staring at the protagonist like he is looking at something monstrous. Gong Cheng charges forward, declaring he will take Si Chen's life. Si Chen catches his wrist without effort, squeezes with crushing force, and pulls back his other fist. He tells Gong Cheng he is far too weak. Then he unloads, throwing punch after punch before hurling the man away. Gong Cheng crashes hard into the wall and ends up completely battered from the beating. From a distance, Ma Long drops to his knees, barely able to form the question of when exactly Si Chen became this strong. Si Chen takes stock of the situation. He can draw a few conclusions now. Just like before, he can switch into electric assassin mode whenever he wants. Even at level 1, he can handle low-level awakened fighters in his base state, which tells him he is already above rank E, though he cannot pin down exactly where he stands. But there is another problem nagging at him. He took down Gong Cheng, so why have his status points not changed at all? He charges up a bolt of lightning in his hand, turning over a possibility in his mind. Ma Long nervously asks what he is about to do. Si Chen points the crackling energy directly at him, wondering whether the way to gain experience works the same way it did in his past life. A girl approaches from behind, pointing out that they are on school grounds. Ling Yu, the vice president of the student council, steps in and tells Si Chen that even though the other party struck first, the punishment he delivered is more than enough. In her view, he will never have the nerve to lay a hand on them again. Si Chen releases the guy shortly after. He wonders to himself why the student council is so eager to protect him, but also whether he should actually do anything about it. Because if people like that are not genuinely scared, they will just keep causing trouble down the line. The two delinquents, shaken, admit to each other that his expression in that moment was terrifying, and that it is better not to mess with him anymore.
Si Chen quietly wonders whether those two were not supposed to be the weakest and poorest students in the school. Ling Yu catches that and turns those two labels over in her mind. Later, back at the male dormitory, Ma Long is buzzing with excitement. He says Si Chen really did awaken, and on top of that, he is a powerful electric type.
He wiped the floor with Gong Cheng, and now those guys cannot even look him in the eye. Xiang Zuo, a rank E-core mage, asks where Si Chen went then. Ma Long asks if he seriously thinks Si Chen would run away. Xiang Zuo fires back that if he got that strong, he does not need to bother with basic training. Yu, his flower enchantment brother of the same rank, remarks that Ma Long must have taken some damage to the brain. Zuo snaps back that the four of them ended up in the same dormitory because their evaluations landed in the bottom 4 positions of the entire year, and that is a fact that cannot be changed. He is 4th from the bottom, which makes him number 1 in the dormitory, and the only combat type among them. That, he insists, is an absolute and unchangeable fact. He adds that a soft-handed guy like Si Chen could not possibly awaken an electric type ability, but he does feel like he himself has been getting stronger lately, and maybe he can get into a club. Yu cuts in to remind everyone that tomorrow is the last level evaluation before graduation. Meanwhile, at the rank E training den, a figure emerges. It is Gong Yan, the president of the student council. He announces that training is over for the day. As he steps out, he glances to the side and notes that his brother is still waiting for him. Gong Cheng makes it clear that he cannot sleep tonight unless something is done. Si Chen humiliated him in front of everyone, and it is obvious he has no respect for them. Yan says he already knows. and that he will handle it one way or another. Later, Gongyan is cutting meat while Ling Yu asks how he plans to deal with the situation. Yan says simply that his brother lost because he was weaker, then wonders aloud whether Si Chen is actually strong. Ling Yu tells him that he knows the level and strength of everyone in the school, that fewer than 10 students have reached rank B, and that he has recruited all of them into his club. Beyond that, no one else has a real shot at entering the den. Average awakened individuals have no path to improvement, and no one can keep up with his pace. Elsewhere, Si Chen is running 20 kilometers with 100 kilos of weight on him. It is basic training aimed at raising his physical quality, since the ceiling of an awakened person is proportional to their physical strength, and only a strong body can release power to its fullest extent. But he knows this is still far from enough. His mind drifts back. In 2160, the demon lord Fury emerged from the den and descended into the world, taking the lives of countless humans in an instant. His only family, his younger sister, lost her life because of him. It was also Fury who opened the gates of hell and allowed other demon lords to pour into the world. He keeps running, and the thought crystallizes. His goal now is to take down Fury. Fury is the beginning of the destruction, and there are 3 years left before the descent. He knows he is growing fast, but he needs to be even faster. Then his phone rings. He unlocks the screen and sees that Si-Yun has been calling him. He picks up right away. His sister asks why he called so many times today, explaining that she was competing and her phone died. But she tells him that if she wins the prize, it will cover their overdue rent. Si Chen thinks back to that ruined future, and how many times he prayed to the heavens for a chance to start over, no matter what price it would cost, even if hell itself came crashing down without end. Si-Yun keeps talking, telling him that when the competition is over they will meet up and to wait for her good news. The protagonist stares ahead, and the thought settles in his mind that everything has begun again. He breaks into 3 more laps, because he needs to get strong as fast as possible to protect all of this. 8 hours have passed since he returned to this time. He has been getting used to this body, weak but young. Now he needs to think about what matters most. To level up, he needs access to a den, but the dens are monopolized by the guilds. Outside of the wealthy, most people have no real chance to evolve, and he is trying to figure out how he is going to get there. He also wonders what exactly the power of gluttony even is. Then, without warning, a system begins to load. It completes its initialization and announces the launch of the gluttony system. Si Chen snaps awake. He stumbles through a few acrobatic movements before managing to steady himself on the ground. When he looks up, there is a tower standing right in front of him. He has no idea where he is, and wonders whether he was even asleep. Si Chen stares up at the tower looming before him, trying to make sense of what he is looking at. Before he can think too hard about it, the red river below begins churning, and monsters start clawing their way out of the surface. Funeral flames, rank E cloud class warriors, pour out in waves. Si Chen wonders if he has somehow ended up inside a demonic lair. He does not fully understand his situation yet, but he decides to deal with what is right in front of him first. The funeral flames surge toward him, and he splits them clean down the middle with a burst of overwhelming speed, collecting 3 funeral flame fangs in the process. With his current strength, rank E monsters are almost embarrassingly easy to handle. Everything around him feels completely real, nothing like a dream. And more importantly, he realizes this place can give him experience and levels. When he hits level 2, all of his attributes gain 5 points. He genuinely has a demonic lair he can clear entirely on his own. Then a funeral flame king charges at him from behind. Si Chen decides then and there that this is where he is going to do his real training. He hits the monster with his lightning, splits it in half without much effort, and levels up again. Boss experience is several times greater than that of common monsters at the same rank, and he climbs 2 levels in almost no time at all. Then something new appears in his interface, a term he does not recognize. Something about being devourable. Si Chen is caught off guard by it. He points his hand toward the fallen boss, wondering out loud whether this is what the power of gluttony actually does. The system responds immediately. It begins devouring the monster, drawing it together into the palm of his hand until it collapses into a card. He can take a life, consume an opponent, and convert them into his own class. Then something else catches his attention. He wonders if this is not the power of the demon lord Lan Yue, a power that now belongs to him. Classes are born with inherent differences in strength, and the one rule that cannot be changed is that each person can only have 1 class. But Si Chen now has 2 at the same time, and if he can keep devouring magical beasts, there may be no limit to how many classes he can accumulate. He wonders why he has been given this power, and what exactly that magical tower behind him is. Then a crushing pressure slams into him out of nowhere. Before he can process it, a voice speaks, calm and deliberate, telling him that he has finally arrived, and that it has been waiting for him for a long time. The voice calls him by name, Si Chen. Si Chen bolts across the Red River. His mind races as he runs. In his past life, he nearly died pushing himself to rank S, and even then his combat power peaked at rank D. But on the other side of this place stands a rank S boss, and the gap between them is enormous. His attributes are completely outclassed. He cannot figure out what kind of lair this is, or why a rank S monster is here at all. And more unsettling than any of that is the fact that it knows his name. He exchanges roughly a dozen blows with the creature. During that entire exchange, the monster has had countless opportunities to kill him outright, and it has not taken a single one. Instead, it keeps knocking him away, deliberately avoiding his vital points, putting him down easily again and again without finishing the job. The monster asks him if he still intends to keep fighting. Si-Chen reads the situation. The creature wants him to submit. The Lord makes its offer clear, telling Si-Chen to reconsider, framing it as a rare opportunity to stay and guard the magical tower alongside it. Si-Chen answers without hesitation. No matter what happens, he refuses to stay in this cursed place. The monster responds by cutting his arm. Si-Chen is stunned. The creature tells him that it does not think he understands how close he is to losing his life, and that the only reason it has shown this much patience is because he is the only one who has ever made it this far. Then the funeral flames shift, their color bleeding into a deep purple. The Lord amplifies its power and gives him one final choice: stay, or be crushed into nothing. Si-Chen activates his class and makes his answer clear. He is going to take this thing down. The monster hurls stones at him, dismissing the declaration as absurd. Si-Chen weaves through the projectiles with relative ease, closing the distance with his lightning, and his mind is working the entire time. Through everything that just happened, he has been observing. He noticed that before each sword strike, there is a delay of 4 milliseconds. He can read the angle of force in the monster's wrist, track the trajectory, and slip past the blade. And after each strike, there is a recovery pause of 2 milliseconds. If he times his attack to land inside that window, he can hit it while it is completely open. His plan is to drive an electric blade straight through its heart in that instant. Killing a rank S is out of the question, but a full power paralysis strike could lock it down for at least a few seconds. The monster is fast, which is why he never had enough distance before. But a few seconds is all he needs to get out. He has also been watching the light. There is only one light source in the entire area, and he moves toward it with his palm extended, thinking the source has suddenly vanished. The monster tells him it is a shame, and that the exit he found was just an illusion it left behind. There is no way out because this is not a demonic lair. But then its tone shifts. It tells him that finding the gap in its attack pattern that quickly was genuinely impressive. Even under that kind of desperate, suffocating pressure, Si-Chen managed to stay cold, analyze the fight clearly, and find a thread of hope to pull on. The creature says he is exactly the kind of person who can bring hope, and it reveals itself, a Rakshasa of Purgatory, a star element warrior class monster. Si-Chen stares at it, and recognition hits him. That face is one he has seen before, on the demon lord Lan Yue. In his past life, during the final battle against him, Si-Chen watches as the monster suddenly transforms mid-fight, cycling through multiple powerful classes one after another, striking him with fire, then with a flower element, then with electricity. And now, one particular form triggers a sharp memory because he recognizes it. That means he was devoured by the power of Lan Yue, and the power of gluttony has since fused into his very body. He wonders if the space he finds himself in is actually inside himself. Rakshasa speaks up, telling Si-Chen that not only does he have outstanding resistance under pressure, he is also remarkably sharp, and that he deserves to claim everything that exists in this place. Si-Chen presses him on what exactly that means. Rakshasa then summons a key from the temporal rift and explains that it belongs to the demonic tower. Lan Yue devoured countless cruel demons over time, and the most powerful among them were sealed inside that tower behind him. Si-Chen must devour them and grow stronger, turning their power into his own. Si-Chen wants to know why Rakshasa is teaching him all this and helping him in the first place. Rakshasa explains that even among demons, there is good and evil, and the demon lords wiped out his clan out of pure selfishness. He has been waiting for the right opportunity to take his revenge, and he has finally found it. He mentions that a certain person was right, and that Si-Chen is the only hope. Si-Chen asks who that person is, but Rakshasa tells him the answers are all inside the demonic tower, and that he will have to go find them himself. Rakshasa tells him to carry the power forward and avenge what was done. Si-Chen pushes for more, but Rakshasa cuts straight to the point. From this moment on, Si-Chen must grow stronger, open the gate of the demonic tower, and devour everything inside it. The demons sealed within will not go easy on him the way Rakshasa did. They are the most cruel and cunning existences in this world, but he must overcome every single one of them and rise to the very top. And in the end, the demon lords themselves must be devoured. As Rakshasa begins to fade, his essence dissolving, he says that only someone like Si-Chen is worthy of inheriting his power, and so Si-Chen devours him, leaping all the way to level 10 in one go and claiming 2 infernal bones from Rakshasa as spoils. Si-Chen tells him he understands, and that he will carry his will forward, making sure those responsible pay in blood. With that, he receives Rakshasa's class. Morning arrives. A voice calls out for everyone to get up, and Si-Chen sits up immediately. Xiang tells the group they need to clear out before they hold up the dormitory schedule. Si-Chen takes stock of himself and notices his injuries have healed completely, which makes him wonder for a moment if everything was just a dream. But his system tells a different story, and the loot he collected is right there with him. In a single night, he jumped to level 10, which likely puts him at a meaningful rank. Before he can think too much further, Xiang Zuo calls out to him, mentioning that someone yesterday was apparently boasting about being strong and planning to shake up his position as number 1 in the dormitory. He tells Si-Chen they need to get moving, because the ranking evaluation is about to begin, and he wants to see what this person is actually made of. A little later, Si-Chen is casually eating a piece of bread and thinking things through. The dormitory appears to be entirely Class E, but he reminds himself that each class is divided into 3 tiers, and the others are lower tier while he sits at the middle tier. The gap in strength between each tier is significant, and he figures he could handle 10 of them on his own. On top of that, since he has not been tested in 2 years, his class may have risen since then. Ma Long calls out to Si-Chen and tells him to go all out and grab a Class D ranking, just to give everyone the shock of their lives. Si-Chen simply repeats the words Class D to himself, letting them settle. They arrive at the evaluation site a little later, and Xiang Zuo is surprised to see how many people showed up so early. Then Gong Cheng's delinquent crew starts making their way over, and the 3 of them quietly agree to keep their distance. But the tension spikes when the gang glances in their direction. Then Si-Chen looks back at them directly, and that is all it takes. The delinquents immediately bow and greet him as Brother Si-Chen. Xiang Zuo is baffled, wondering why they are being so deferential, and starts thinking that maybe what Ma Long said was actually true. Si-Chen just keeps walking, completely unbothered. Then a voice stops him. Chiang Di, a member of the student council, steps forward and mentions that he heard Si-Chen had a run-in with Gong Cheng, and that he is aware Si-Chen is the biological brother of the esteemed council president Gong Yan. From a distance, onlookers murmur among themselves, noting that Chiang Di is not just some lackey of the president, but a genuine Class D figure, and wondering why someone like him would bother getting involved with Si-Chen. Chiang Di then tells Si-Chen that his sense of smell is exceptionally sharp, and that he can detect the scent of someone truly powerful. But as far as he can tell, Si-Chen only smells like someone who will be at the bottom for the rest of his life. Things kick off with Si-Chen throwing a pointed remark at Chiang Di, essentially asking if he is some kind of dog. Chiang Di flares up immediately, demanding to know what he just said, but before the situation can escalate any further, a third voice cuts through and shuts it down. Gongyan steps in calmly, explaining that he looked into what happened and that his brother was in the wrong from the very beginning. In his view, paying for your mistakes is only fair. He holds the 2 of them in his gaze for a moment, then the tension quietly settles. Si-Chen says nothing, staying exactly where he is. A professor breaks the silence by announcing that the classification test is about to begin. Students are to take the stage in an orderly fashion when their names are called. Gong Yan turns and tells his group to get ready, privately sizing up Si-Chen and concluding that he does not look like much of a threat. From a distance, 2 figures are watching all of this unfold. A man wonders aloud what drew him here today and whether he has spotted someone worth keeping an eye on. The woman beside him suggests it could turn out to be quite interesting. An hour passes. It is Xiang Zuo's turn. He steps up, declares that this is where his true strength gets revealed, and walks through the portal into the testing area. The classification test works like this. Each student enters a special demonic lair alone, where a demonic heart sits at the center, capable of absorbing energy. The awakened individual releases their full energy output in front of that heart. The heart then transmits the reading through cables to external equipment, and the result appears on a display screen as raw data. Xiang Zuo fires off his energy ball. The heart absorbs it, the cables carry the signal, and the screen lights up with his result. He lands a rank E at the middle level. The crowd murmurs, noting that the second piece of data has not appeared yet. Ma Long explains what that second reading means. Beyond the current classification, the test also measures something called potential. The screen shifts again shortly after, and Ma Long points out that people with high potential tend to attract serious attention from the government. When the test wraps up, Xiangzuo walks out with his head low, rank E middle level, with a potential of rank C. Ma Long tries to soften the blow, reminding him that some people score even worse, and that he is not the only one who missed rank D, so they are all in the same boat. Then the system announces a rank D result with a potential of B, and the first rank D student of the class steps out. Time moves on. Chung D goes through and matches rank D, but his potential reads as A. Ma Long groans that this is already the 8th rank D in a row. The professors exchange glances, noting that this year is producing an unusual number of rank D talents. Even at the lower end of the spectrum, that kind of result is rare for students with no prior field experience. The next name up is Gong Yan. He moves quickly into position. The whole room buzzes with anticipation. This is the student council president, the young master of the Imperial Guild. Si Chen watches from where he stands. People in the crowd remind each other that Gong Yan already hit rank D 2 years ago during a prior test, and that the highest classification on record for this exam is rank D middle level. Inside the demonic lair, Gong Yan opens his eye just slightly and extends his hand. He thinks it through carefully. The real impact will come during the practical exam, so right now he only needs to hold back part of his strength. Even so, he is certain he will come out on top. The numbers on the scoreboard begin to shift. One of the professors notices the color is different from anything they have seen before. Gong Yan's result locks in as rank D superior, with a potential of rank S. The room erupts. People can barely process what they are looking at. He is already the top student at the school, so something extraordinary was expected, but this is on another level entirely. Ma Long is practically beside himself, declaring that their school has produced a rank S potential, and that everyone present has just witnessed history. The professors immediately start debating whether to notify their superiors right away. A rank S awakened individual is considered a rare national treasure, and someone like that is guaranteed to receive special attention and protection from the government. On top of that, being the young master of the Imperial Guild means this result is about to make headlines across the entire world. The man watching from above remarks that this year is genuinely packed with talent. The woman beside him acknowledges that she already knew Gong Yan carried rank S potential, which is exactly why she came today. But then she clarifies that he is not actually the reason she is here. Compared to Gong Yan, she says, she is far more curious about someone else's performance. And right on cue, the professors call Si Chen to the stage. Chang Di wastes no time putting Si Chen in his place, telling him to go back to the dormitory where he belongs. And if his ranking result comes back as anything lower than rank E, they will all be lumped together in the same miserable group, destined to be the biggest embarrassment the university has ever seen when the practical evaluation rolls around. Ma Long tells him to just wait and see, because Si Chen is about to open some eyes. Xiangzuo is not so sure, quietly wondering whether Si Chen can actually pull it off. Inside the demonic heart chamber, the eye within stirs, sensing something. Si Chen holds his composure and keeps his stance steady. The narration pulls back for a moment to lay out what is actually at stake here. In this era, the best path forward for any awakened individual is joining a high-level guild, and the only real shot at that is through the practical evaluation. Teams of up to 10 people can enter, and candidates are free to choose their own members. Every member of the team that finishes in first place gets recruited by the Imperial Guild, the single best guild in the entire country. So beyond just ranking each participant, the evaluation serves an even bigger purpose than that. Chang Di laughs and points out that this is Yan Lin, a rank D inferior. And just like that, his 10-person team is complete, 9 rank D members alongside Gong Chung. In this kind of environment, it is only natural that the strongest cluster together and the weakest get pushed out or cut entirely. Ma Long starts to wonder out loud. Si Chen has been in there for a while now, and there is not a single sound coming from inside. Before long, people start filing out of the chamber. Chang Di dismisses whoever is left, calling them garbage and saying there is no point waiting around. Gong Yan calls for the rest of the team members to gather as well. Then the ranking appears on the display screen. Rank D superior. The room goes quiet for a beat, then erupts. Everyone is stunned. The result is completely unexpected, and Chang Di cannot make sense of it either. Inside the chamber, the demonic heart panics and demands the test be run again. Si Chen takes stock of the situation. He used nothing but his base body for that. No class swap at all, and it already registered as rank D superior. So he decides to push further and switches into a class. His ranking begins to shift again, climbing to rank C mid-level. The crowd outside gets even more rattled watching the number go up a second time. Chang Di insists there must be something wrong with the equipment. The professors start questioning whether there is an internal system error. The heart keeps throwing errors and demands another retest. Si Chen reasons that his other classes should be sitting above C, so he goes ahead and activates the Rakshasa, his most powerful one. The heart reacts with visible alarm. Outside the chamber, a dark and oppressive energy begins to gather, completely shifting the atmosphere of the entire area. Everyone looks up, unsettled, trying to figure out what they are feeling. Xiang Yue says quietly that today is going to go down in history. Si Chen's potential begins to surface. The ranking hits S immediately. The crowd erupts in disbelief. Gong Yan looks shaken. But then the system throws another alert. A second S appears on the screen. The system cannot detect the actual value of his potential because the maximum load has already been exceeded. Everyone is screaming about an SSS rank. Then an explosion goes off inside the chamber. A professor sprints toward the entrance, shouting that the demonic heart has overloaded and that the student inside could be hurt. He rushes in and finds Si Chen standing there, staring down at the ground with a look of surprise. The demonic heart has lost its life. The professor wonders aloud whether it was simply used for too long today. Si Chen, for his part, thinks he accidentally pushed too much force through it and blew the heart out. But there is a pleasant surprise buried in that outcome. His gluttony ability managed to devour the energy that the demonic heart contained. He steps outside the chamber and activates his ability. He can now see everyone's rankings at a glance, which he finds genuinely useful. One detail catches his attention immediately. Gong Yan is sitting at roughly rank C mid-level. The professor addresses the group and announces that unfortunately, the demonic heart has been exhausted and the test is suspended. Si Chen's results are likely corrupted and will be reported up the chain, and any students who have not yet tested can return tomorrow. Ma Long and the twins rush over and throw their arms around Si Chen. Chang Di cuts through the moment, sneering that someone like Si Chen could never reach rank C and that the equipment was clearly broken. He blames Si Chen for destroying the heart and ruining the day for everyone else, saying the others now have to come back tomorrow because of him. Si Chen starts preparing one of his abilities. He thinks to himself that this guy never shuts up, and he is going to deal with him if he does not stop. But Gong Yan steps in and tells Chang Di to stop being rude to a teammate. Chang Di turns to him with a sharp look, and then the president walks over. He extends his hand towards Si Chen and asks him to join forces for the graduation practical evaluation, saying that with Si Chen on board, the highest score in the history of the event is practically guaranteed to be theirs. Gong Yan's friends are already questioning whether the invitation was real, while Chang Di is quietly fuming on the inside. If this stranger joins the group, someone else gets cut, and he has no idea how to explain that to the others. Getting into this team means claiming the top spot in the school, and there are people who couldn't buy their way in even if they tried. So why does this guy get a personal invitation from Gong Yan himself? Still, disrespecting Gong Yan is not an option. Chang Di swallows his frustration and places a hand on Si Chen's shoulder, telling him that since the president himself extended the offer, he is welcome among them. Si Chen brushes the hand off and tells him flatly that he has no interest. The whole group goes dead silent. Chang Di loses it, shouting that Si Chen should know their squad holds the #1 ranking in the entire school. Si Chen just tells him that has nothing to do with him, and while he is at it, Chang Di is far too loud and should stop bothering him from this point forward. Then he simply walks back to his own friends, leaving Chang Di seething. Word spreads through the school almost instantly. Si Chen rejected Gong Yan. Students start wondering whether he is planning to chase the top rank on his own, especially given that his test result came back as a mid-rank C. Ma Long and Xiang Yo are thoroughly entertained by the whole situation. Gong Yan himself takes it in stride, remarking that it is fine and that his brother Si Chen clearly has his own ideas about things. From a vantage point above the scene, Yuan Long watches and says, "It is a shame the two of them did not form a team, because he had been hoping a new historic record for the school would be born this year." Ling Yu responds that things are now even more interesting. Gong Yan was born into privilege, and a rejection like this in front of everyone is nothing short of an open declaration of war. Their president, Ling Yu notes, is not someone easy to deal with. Chang Di tries to rationalize it, suggesting the test must have been wrong and that Si Chen is not actually a rank C. Gong Yan pushes back on that, pointing out that even if the test is wrong, even if there is a 1 in 100 million chance it is not, he cannot afford to let anyone threaten his first place standing. Chang Di argues that regardless, Si Chen is just a student with no real combat experience, while they are elite fighters who have been through actual demonic lairs. He volunteers to go handle the situation personally. Gong Yan asks him whether he really looks like someone that petty. His loyal follower quickly says no. Gong Yan then says he is simply not in the mood to get involved, and that Chang Di can do whatever he wants with the others. Whatever happens will have nothing to do with him. Chang Di is caught off guard by that answer, but he reads between the lines just fine. He confirms that whatever occurs will have no connection to the president whatsoever. About 10 minutes later, Chang Di gets a piece of news that genuinely surprises him. Si Chen has left the school grounds. One of his men confirms it, saying he just heard that Si Chen headed home and walked out without even stopping to eat. Changdi sees this as a gift from the heavens. Outside school property, dealing with Si Chen will be far easier. The narration then pulls back into Si Chen's past life. An elite guild, while exploring a demonic lair inside the country of Shenge, ran into a catastrophe. Deep within the lair, they encountered a powerful demon unlike anything previously recorded. This was the demon known as Fury. The entire elite guild was wiped out, and Fury broke free from the lair and descended into the human world. That is the full extent of what Si Chen knows. In this new life, he has already put together a plan to locate the exact position of the lair where Fury resides as quickly as possible. But to set that plan in motion, he needs a significant amount of money. The Mithril Monster Market, run by the Mithril Guild, is going to become the largest supply market in the country in the future. Weapons and equipment are critical factors in determining the strength of any awakened individual, and the Monster Market is the essential stop for buying and selling. For Si Chen right now, it is also the fastest way to get his hands on cash. At the market, an analyst looks over what Si Chen has brought in and asks how a student managed to get his hands on funeral flame fangs. Si Chen says they dropped from a monster. The analyst says he has never seen that before. A girl steps in and says that if she is not mistaken, these are the drops of a rank E cloud type magic beast called Funeral Flame. According to the records, they can be used to craft a rank E core or ground into powder. The analyst wonders aloud how that could possibly be worth anything significant, then reminds himself that their market runs on VIPs, and the clientele here are awakened individuals of standing. It is perfectly normal not to be familiar with rank E materials. He thinks to himself that high-level clients have been scarce lately, and at this rate he wonders when he will ever make supervisor. He always seems to end up with difficult, low-profit customers. Better to pass this one off to the new girl. He tells Xiao Li to handle the rest of the process for this client. Xiao Li hands over the payment and asks if there is anything else she can help with. Si Chen counts it in his head, 18,000, just enough to cover his rent. Then he tells her there is one more thing, and asks her to take a look at something for him. Xiao Li's eyes go wide. She says it is an enormous and striking sword. She has never seen anything like it, but her instinct tells her it is at least rank B, possibly reaching rank A. The analyst overhears and chimes in that a rank A weapon would be priced at over $1 million, and he has never personally seen one. Before he can say more, another man cuts in and says they are both wrong. It is neither B nor A. The analyst assumes his boss means it is lower and starts to agree, saying a poor student would never have anything truly valuable, but his boss corrects him sharply. What Si Chen is carrying is clearly from the lands of purgatory. It is a rank S piece of equipment. Both of them go completely still at the mention of that classification. The owner steps forward and takes Si Chen's hand, welcoming him as a VIP client. He invites him to a private room and tells him he can ask for whatever he wants. Si Chen thinks to himself that the person he has been waiting for has finally shown up. This is Qing Zhi, the owner of the Mithril Guild. In a private room thick with incense, Qing Zhi opens the conversation by asking his guest how he intends to handle the equipment he brought in. Si Chen states plainly that he wants 1 million. Qing Zhi raises an eyebrow. He points out that rank A equipment alone fetches millions on the open market, and the weapon Si Chen is carrying is rank S, meaning it could easily cause a stir if word got out. Surely 1 million is underselling it. Si Chen clarifies his position. He does not want to sell the weapon. He wants to use it as collateral for a loan of 1 million, to be repaid within 1 month. Qing Zhi is visibly surprised. Using a rank S weapon as collateral rather than selling it outright is not the kind of thinking you expect from a university student. The young man clearly intends to keep using it down the line. That level of foresight, Qing Zhi muses, points to either a wealthy heir who left home on his own terms or someone genuinely exceptional. Si Chen confirms the timeline, 1 month, and when the deadline arrives, he will repay the principal plus 10% interest. Qing Zhi asks Xiao Li to step outside for a moment, then he lays his cards on the table. If he is not mistaken, Si Chen attends the National University of the Awakened and is a senior about to graduate. As Qing Zhi understands it, the school holds a practical graduation assessment every year, and that assessment falls almost exactly 1 month from now, with a prize of precisely 1 million. The timing and the amount line up perfectly. So Qing Zhi ventures a guess. Si Chen is confident he will finish first in that competition. He needs the money urgently right now, urgently enough to put up something this valuable as collateral, which means the need is real and immediate. Given all of that, Qing Zhi makes a different offer entirely. He will hand over 1.5 million in cash right now, with 0% interest for 1 month. He frames it simply as a gesture of goodwill between friends. Si Chen is stunned. Qing Zhi adds one condition. Everything discussed stays completely confidential, but if Si Chen ever has business to conduct in the future, he asks only that this market be his first stop, promising the best possible terms. nerves. Si Chen takes a moment to process what just happened. With very little information, Qingzhi read his background and his intentions accurately, and then, rather than exploiting the situation, offered him better terms than he asked for. The protagonist reflects that to defeat Furia, he cannot rely on his own strength alone. He needs trustworthy partners. This, he decides, is exactly that. The deal is made. A magical binding seal is placed on the agreement. Qingzhi confirms it is done and that the funds have already been transferred to Si Chen's account. Then, almost as an afterthought, Qingzhi mentions that Si Chen was carrying quite a fine weapon earlier and asks what he plans to use for the upcoming assessment. He offers to lend something from the guild's inventory, noting that while nothing rank S is available at the moment, there is solid rank B and rank A equipment on hand. But Si Chen reaches into his inventory and pulls something out, telling them he does not need anything. As it turns out, he has another weapon of that same caliber. The room goes completely silent. Everyone present is floored. Si Chen takes his leave, and the guild sends him off with barely contained excitement. Qingzhi turns to Xiao Li and tells her that because she held on to this client, he is promoting her to supervisor effective immediately. Outside the building, Si Chen pauses and remembers there is something else he needs to buy. He hails a taxi and heads to the Kangchang district toward the bus terminal. His thoughts drift back to his past life. The lack of money had been a constant weight back then. He had just graduated, had no awakening, and not a single guild would take him. He scraped together whatever odd jobs he could find just to cover rent. He and Si Yun had lived a genuinely difficult life. Si Yun had been accepted into the Central International Institute of Arts. She had been happy about it, but the school was far away, and she said she only wanted to stay close to her brother. The truth, though, was that she was afraid of being a burden. She gave up her dream school because of that fear. Si Chen snaps back to the present and realizes she should already be out by now. He scans the area near the entrance. Then he hears her voice. Si Yun spots him and immediately scolds him, asking how many times she has told him to wait at the exit and not the entrance, and wondering if he has just been standing there doing nothing. Si Chen thinks to himself that 7 years have passed. Si Yun shoves her luggage toward him and tells him to carry it, then stops and asks why he is just standing there looking dazed, wanting to know if some girl turned him down. She tells him they need to get home and mentions that the road to the exam was absolutely chaotic. Si Chen pulls her into a tight hug. 7 long years, he thinks. He is finally looking at his sister again. Si Yun yelps, jabbing him in the ribs and telling him he is going to crush her if he squeezes any harder. She says he has been acting strange lately and tells him they need to go. Si Chen makes a quiet promise to himself. In this life, he will never let her suffer again. Elsewhere, Changdi is watching the road Si Chen takes on his way home. He tells the others with him to hold their position and wait. The moment Si Chen shows up, they move. He intends to make sure Si Chen understands exactly what happens when someone crosses him. Si Chen's subordinates warn Changdi that members of the council are on their way, and if things escalate too far, the protagonist could end up in serious trouble. But Changdi is not interested in backing down. He makes clear that all he wants is to teach Si Chen a lesson, though the sheer audacity of the situation is already getting under his skin. A rank E, nobody daring to get in his way, is something he simply cannot let slide. He thinks back to the moment Si Chen told him to stop making noise and to get out of his face, and that memory alone is enough to seal the decision. His order is simple and brutal. They are going to beat Si Chen into a coma, making sure he cannot participate in the upcoming graduation evaluation. Changdi reminds his crew that he is one of the school's finest cloud assassins, and that this arrogant little upstart is about to run out of luck. Meanwhile, on a hillside path leading home, Si Yun walks beside her brother and brings up how strangely he has been acting for the past 2 days. She figures it might be the pressure of the graduation evaluation weighing on him. A guy as straightforward as Si Chen, she reasons, is hardly the type to be tangled up in romantic trouble. Either way, she tries to lift his spirits, even humming a song he used to sing to her, the one that went on about how life is long and opportunity always comes around eventually. Si Chen listens and thinks to himself that she is sharper than he gave her credit for. She noticed the change in him the moment they met. She still does not know that he is awakened, still believing they are living the same life they always knew. He tells her he is fine. Si Yun reads it as stubbornness, the kind of wall men build around themselves. She thinks her brother is getting old, but the moment does not last. Changdi's crew is already lurking in the alley nearby. One of them spots the girl walking beside Si Chen and wonders where she came from. Changdi sees it as a gift. The alley has no cameras, and he notes with satisfaction that the siblings are not going to have a good time tonight. Si Chen senses the hostile energy from a distance. He clocks them immediately as members of the student council. The fact that they have come all the way here, to this place, genuinely offends him. Without a word, he pulls out an earbud and places it in his sister's ear. He tells her there is a song he has been listening to on repeat, and that she should give it a listen. Siyun finds it odd, since when does he care about music? But the melody starts to pull her in almost immediately. She thinks it feels like it carries someone's emotions inside it. The moment she is settled, Si-chen turns around and walks straight toward the group, his demonic heart already activated. He sizes them up quickly. 5 rank E fighters and Changdi himself at rank D. The music keeps playing softly in Si-yun's ear. The delinquents move in, and Si-chen thinks about the year 2160, about losing his last remaining family member, about the 7 years that passed before he could see his sister again. That thought alone floods him with a fury that goes well beyond anything ordinary. He wants to know how they dare ruin this moment. He launches forward at full speed. The first kick connects with someone's head with almost contemptuous ease, sending the man flying. Then the next. Each one goes down in a single hit, one after another, while the song continues playing in Si-yun's ear, and she remains completely unaware of what is happening just behind her. One of the remaining subordinates rushes in. Si-chen simply grabs the man's arm and drives his elbow into it, snapping the bone clean. The man cries out in pain, and before he can process what just happened, a punch catches him square in the face and sends him sailing. Changdi watches all of this and cannot make sense of it. He keeps asking himself how this kid is this strong, but Si-chen is already closing the distance. Changdi puffs himself up one last time, reminding himself that he is an elite cloud assassin, and that there is no way he is losing this fight. A single lightning strike puts that thought to rest. The blast sends him flying, and before he can even land, Si-chen is already on him, driving a hit into his jaw that finishes the job entirely. Changdi rolls across the ground like a ragdoll and comes to a stop, face down. The last thing he sees before his vision fades is Si-chen's expression, cold and utterly without mercy. When Changdi slowly opens his eyes, Si-chen is standing over him. He reminds Changdi that he gave him a clear warning to stop bothering him, and then asks with genuine curiosity whether the man simply does not understand plain human language. Changdi is in rough shape. His ribs are broken, he can't feel his legs, and the test results have made one thing undeniably clear. Si-chen is no rank D. Changdi starts to apologize, but Si-chen cuts him off immediately, pressing a blade toward him and making it plain that if he makes another sound, there will be consequences far worse than a broken rib cage. Changdi studies the look in Si-chen's eyes and knows there is no bluff there. This is just a student, and yet the bloodlust radiating off him is something else entirely. Si-chen tells him to burn every word of what comes next into his memory. He has no interest in trash that wants to rot quietly on its own, but the moment anyone threatens his sister's safety, or even dares to show up in her line of sight, he will make them disappear one by one without a second of hesitation. Changdi trembles. Si-chen turns and walks away, the music still playing softly in the background. Si-yun is listening to that same music, and something about it makes her feel a deep, quiet loneliness. She wonders why she even put it on, because it makes her want to cry. It has been a few days since she last saw her brother, and she can sense that something happened, though she was not there with him. When he finally appears, she turns to him and tells him she hates it when he does that, when he disappears without a word. But Si-chen holds out a box and tells her it is a gift. She opens it and immediately recognizes what is inside, a holographic magic drawing pen. And not just any model, it is the latest release from the Drago group. She wants to know how on earth he got the money for something that expensive. Si-chen, for his part, thinks quietly about his past life, about how he could not protect her then, could not even protect her dream. But in this life, things will be different. He will protect everything that belongs to her, and the delinquents are already dealt with. Back at home, Si-yun tries out the pen and is genuinely amazed at how well it works. Si-chen is quietly thrilled that she likes it. He thinks to himself that his sister's noodles are the best in the world, but Si-yun brings him back down to earth, reminding him they still have rent to pay and he cannot be spending money like this. Si-chen tells her the rent for the entire year is already taken care of. He made a deal with some friends and earned the money that way. Si-yun thinks to herself that her brother is a terrible liar, and the whole thing is suspicious, and she is a little annoyed that he is keeping secrets from her. But even so, it has been a long time since she last saw a smile that genuinely happy on his face. She reaches out and touches his shoulder, telling him that no matter what happens, he should not push himself too hard. Si-chen gives a quiet nod. Meanwhile, at an aquarium, Gong Yan receives a report. Changdi has been seriously injured, 60% of his body fractured. Even with the best healer available, recovery will take more than a month. Gong Yan had not expected him to actually go after Si-chen and end up in that condition. Ling Yu notes that Changdi will likely lose his graduation ranking for the year. Gong Yan shrugs it off, saying his team simply lost a dead weight with no real ability. Then someone approaches. Gong Xuan, the director of the office, brings news about Si-chen. The internal results from the last evaluation test have been confirmed. Si Chen is a genuine rank C, the only student at the university ranked higher than the student council president. Gong Yan is visibly surprised. Gong Xuan continues, explaining that their father has invited the president of the alliance to attend the upcoming event, and they cannot afford to let anyone steal the spotlight. If it comes down to it, he will ask his niece to fill the slot. With everything arranged the way it is, it should go smoothly. But Gong Yan tells his uncle he is worrying too much. Everyone must think Si Chen used his full strength in that test, but Gong Yan is not concerned. He intends to show the entire school exactly who the strongest student here really is. At 11 at night in the male dormitory, Si Chen steps out of the shower after completing a training run of 100 kilometers. The money problem is resolved, things are stable, and he figures he can begin his real plan in earnest after graduation. His next objective is clear: secure the 1 million champion scholarship at the graduation evaluation and use it to repay the debt to Qingji. That debt must be honored because he is going to need Qingji's help badly in the future. He lies down in bed, thinking that there is less than a month left before the evaluation, and he still has several levels to climb. As sleep takes him, his gluttony system activates, pulling him toward the Tower of Gluttony. He approaches that familiar door, turning over what the test results revealed. His weaker class sits at a solid mid-tier rank C, but his stronger class, Rakshasa, never fully displayed itself. It is rank S, yet he cannot draw on its full power yet, and its true ceiling remains unknown. The rankings of both classes are still unresolved. He takes the temporal rift key and uses it on the door to the demon tower. As he steps through into that swirling violet mist, Si Chen is completely awestruck by what he sees on the other side. Si Chen finds himself on the plane of the falling star, and the moment he steps in, something slams him down. A crushing pressure forces him to his knees, and he quickly calculates that the gravitational pull in this place is running at roughly 10 G. The door he came through has already vanished. It will only reopen once he defeats the boss of this floor, and right now he can barely push out 30% of his normal strength. He has to adapt, and he has to do it fast. Before he gets the chance, a rank B ghost lion from the Stellar Warrior class closes in on him. Si Chen activates his electric assassin class and sizes up the enemy in front of him. The lion charges. Si Chen slides out of the way with ease and drives his electric blade into the creature, but he immediately registers the problem. His body is too heavy, too sluggish. He needs to end this quickly. The strike misses the vital point. The paralysis fails to trigger, and Si Chen realizes the extreme gravity has gutted both his speed and his precision. The core advantage of the assassin class has essentially evaporated, and yet, even in these conditions, the ghost lion moves with unsettling ease. This is the standard for monsters inside the demonic Tower of Purgatory, and it proves the point by sinking its teeth into his arm. Si Chen switches classes. He becomes the Rakshasa of Purgatory, and the numbers shift dramatically. His strength triples. His stamina multiplies by 4. Every class has its central strength, and raw close quarters combat belongs to warriors built around force and endurance. He grabs the lion and drives it into the ground, stacking the gravity of this environment to its absolute limit and concentrating every ounce of that force into the impact. In a place where gravity is already insane, a single downward blow carries a multiplier of 60 times over. The lion panics. Si Chen presses it deeper into the floor, telling it not to even think about stopping him, and then he activates the super heavy mode of the Stellar Warrior class. When it is over, he is flat on his back beside the wreckage, breathing hard. He collects a ghost lion bone from the remains and gains a level in the process. He takes a moment to think through the class system. Each star on a card represents an attribute multiplier, and the more stars a card carries, the greater the boost when switching into that class. The Purgatory Demon card holds more stars than the Lightning Assassin, so after that switch he was operating at a slightly higher ceiling. Even so, against a rank B monster, he had to use absolutely everything he had. Neither class has broken through rank B yet, and that much is clear. Then something else becomes clear. He looks around and notices the system never displayed a devourable tag after the kill. The gate to the next floor has not appeared either. The realization hits him before he can finish the thought. A black hole tears open behind him. Creatures pour out of it, lurking at the edges of the dark. Si Chen understands now that the ghost lion he just fought was nothing more than a common monster. The true lord of this floor has not shown itself yet. The lion bites into his shoulder. Others rake across him from every direction. And in this moment, Si Chen finally understands what the demon of purgatory meant about infinite pain waiting behind that door. He has to endure it. He has to push through all of it regardless. Si Chen jolts awake in the middle of the night, gasping. The pain from his dreams was too real. Muscles tearing, skin separating from bone. There are no shortcuts to becoming strong. This solitary road through purgatory has only just begun. Friday, May 20th. the auditorium of the National University of Awakened Ones. The team formation ceremony gets underway. The faculty take their seats at the panel tables, and word circulates among them that high-ranking members of the Guild Alliance will be attending this year to observe the practical evaluation. That explains the rule changes. In previous years, there was no minimum headcount and no rank requirement, but now every team needs at least 5 members and at least 1 member of rank E or above. A professor taps the microphone and informs the students that their rank data has been pushed to their wristbands and that they should check their information and begin forming teams as soon as possible. Everyone looks down at their wrists. The ranks and team statuses of each student are right there to read. Ma Long is the first to say something is wrong. Si Chen is showing as rank E, lowest tier. The room reacts. People around him remember that he tested at rank C before. Someone points out that his demonic heart was broken at the time. The conclusion spreads quickly. Nobody is going to want him on their team. The graduation evaluation is too important for anyone to take on that kind of liability. Across the auditorium, Gong Yan stares straight ahead, looking at his uncle among the faculty, and his uncle looks back, thinking about his useless nephew, about how the boy is going to learn firsthand how power and human nature work together. He intends to teach him that lesson personally, starting with making sure his opponent does not even qualify to compete. Half the room is scrambling to get into Gong Yan's team. Students are practically begging, promising they have 3 years of council experience and won't slow anyone down. But Gong Chung shuts them all down immediately, telling everyone to back off because there is only 1 spot left. Half an hour later, the dust settles. Teams have been formed across the room, and while everyone else pairs up and locks in, the protagonist group is still standing off to the side, completely isolated. Ma Long points out the obvious. They have been circling the entire room, and not a single person wants to join them. There are still 4 of them, and at this rate they might not even qualify for the practical graduation assessment at all. He also finds it deeply strange that Si Chen is being treated as low rank. The registration requires at least 5 members, and at least 1 person needs to be rank E or above, and it really feels like someone is deliberately targeting their dormitory. Si Chen thinks it through. The practical assessment is the one real opportunity for everyone to stand out, and getting into a high-scoring team is what opens doors afterward. The number of monsters in the demonic lair during the final assessment scales with team size, so it is not as simple as just throwing more people together. And even setting aside Gong Yan's team, nobody wants to mix with low-rank students. The 3 weakest rank E students in the entire school all happen to share this one dormitory. Then a voice calls out to Xiang Zuo, pointing out that they are still 1 person short and suggesting he come join their team so he can actually participate in the assessment. Si Chen quietly registers what this means. If things keep going this way, the 3 of them at rank E inferior are probably going to get left behind by everyone and ultimately lose their qualification to compete entirely. Xiang Zuo apologizes and turns the offer down. His dormitory has already decided to form a team together, and he is not going to abandon his roommates. The guys who called him over scoff at that. They only invited him to fill a slot, and he still said no. That leaves just their group. Ma Long raises his voice, noting that nearly everyone has already locked in a team, and there are almost no rank E or above students left unattached. Si Chen glances to the side, his demonic heart active. He is thinking that they are still 1 person short and nobody is coming, and he also notices that the professor shares the same surname as Gong Yan. Changing such an important assessment rule on a whim and falsifying his actual rank just to prevent anyone from teaming up with him feels like a direct threat aimed at Gong Yan. But Si Chen has already decided he is participating in this assessment no matter what, and since they are sabotaging him this openly, he sees no reason to play nice. There is more than one way to prove strength outside of the assessment. Ma Long asks what exactly he is planning. Si Chen thinks about it. Schools for the awakened have always maintained a special tradition to help students sharpen their classes and their combat instincts. In any environment, a one-on-one challenge can be initiated, known as an X1. It is an extremely provocative move, but it is also the most direct way to demonstrate strength in front of everyone. Faced with a challenge like that, most people would back down, but Gong Yan is not going to refuse. And if Si Chen dismantles him completely, anyone chasing a high score is going to come running to join his team. Before he can act on that, Ling Yu speaks up. She calls out to Si Chen and asks if his team is still incomplete, adding that she would also like to take part in this year's practical assessment. She was already rank D back in middle school, so joining his team would not be a problem. The entire room turns to look. Everyone is wondering when Si Chen got close to her. Gong Cheng stands up immediately, demanding to know what she means by that. Across the room, a professor chokes on his drink. Ling Yu walks over to the protagonist as the room buzzes. People are noting that she is an exchange student whose background has always been a mystery, but the word is that she is a prodigy from the country of Shenghai. The professor steps in. He questions why she would help someone she does not even know, and warns her that as an exchange student, she does not have the qualifications to participate in the assessment. On top of that, she has never taken a rank test since transferring. There is no report confirming her current level, and her participation would be a violation of the rules. Yuan Long appears and agrees with him. Gong Xuan stands up, visibly surprised, and asks why the director is here as well. The director addresses Ling Yu directly. She is here on an exchange program, and he wants to know why she would get involved in something like this. Si Chen quietly wonders about that. The director's class was listed as warrior, so since when does he have the ability to teleport? Yuan Long continues, saying that allowing her to participate would compromise fairness, and that the assessment only means something when genuine strength is what gets measured. The protagonist activates his demonic heart and scans both of them. He cannot detect the rank of either one. Gong Xuan speaks up, agreeing that the school's reputation rests on always following its rules. Yuan Long then shifts his argument. He says the university exists to cultivate high-level awakened individuals and to provide the best possible stage for them, ensuring a steady pipeline of talent. The assessment is a decades-long tradition and one of the most significant turning points in a student's life. If someone loses that opportunity for questionable reasons, he wants to know how the school intends to take responsibility for that. Gong Xuan reads the situation immediately. This old man is putting him on the spot, and he can tell that Yuan Long has been quietly pulling strings behind the scenes, even though he normally does not bother with small matters. For him and Ling Yu to stage this today, it has to be because of that kid. And picking a direct fight with Yuan Long right now is not worth it. Gong Xuan thinks it through. His uncle can only cover so much. The strong students have already formed their teams, and what is left for Si Chen is 3 of the weakest students in the school. He should be easy to beat, regardless. Gong Xuan announces that the director is right and frames it as an oversight by the Career Placement Office for not catching that the current format could leave students without a path to participate. He then declares that teams with fewer than 5 members or without a rank E superior are now eligible to register. With that, the dormitory officially forms their team. Everyone celebrates the fact that they are in. Yuan Long remarks quietly that Ling Yu's interest in Si Chen runs deeper than he had anticipated. He lays it out plainly. On one side, the strongest team in the school's history, led by Gong Yan. On the other, Si Chen and his 3 roommates carrying the lowest ranks in the building. Yuan Long says he is genuinely curious which lair they will choose and what score they will manage to pull off. With team formation complete, each captain can now select their demonic lair. Then, a notification hits Yuan Long's tablet, and he is caught off guard by how fast it came through. He checks it and sees it was Si Chen's team that just submitted their selection, and the lair they chose is a difficult one. Si Chen's friends are completely rattled. They are telling him to cancel it immediately, asking if he has any idea what he just signed them up for. Chapter 14 opens with some crucial context about how the graduation practical exam actually works. For the first time, students enter a real demon lair as a team, and points are earned by defeating lords and common monsters inside. The difficulty scales with the lair's rank, and so does the score multiplier. A rank F lair caps out at 75 points, while a rank E lair can, in theory, push a team to 100. The team with the highest score walks away with offers from the Imperial Guild, and the team MVP gets something even sweeter, a management position in the guild handed directly to them, plus a prize of 1 million. The all-time school record sits at 90 points. Set years ago when the school's most celebrated genius, now the leader of the Emperor's squadron, graduated. That record was set in a rank E lair, which is already considered brutally difficult. Most people assume that Gong Yan's team is the one most likely to challenge it. Then someone notices that another team has already locked in their lair selection, and they did it fast. It was Si Chen's team, and the lair they chose is rank D. The room goes quiet for a second before it erupts. Everyone turns to look, some in disbelief, some convinced he must have hit the wrong button. No graduating student has ever completed a rank D lair. Ma Long is the first to say out loud what everyone is thinking, that Si Chen has lost his mind and clearly has no idea what he just signed them up for. Shang Zhou crouches down, muttering that their teammate is a lunatic, and quietly wonders whether there is still any way to get out of this team arrangement. Ma Long pushes back directly, asking Si Chen whether he actually thought this through, because this is rank D they are talking about. Si Chen says he did think about it. Then Gong Yan's group makes the exact same call. Every member of that team confirms the rank D selection officially, and the school erupts again. 2 teams going rank D in the same year is unheard of. Someone in the crowd says this year is going to be something else entirely. Not everyone is impressed, though. A girl cuts through the excitement, telling people to stop acting like big fish when they are anything but. She says they should take a hard look at their own strength before posturing, because at the end of the day, this looks more like a grab for attention than a real plan. A guy nearby adds that Si Chen's teammates are never going to agree to this, and that he has barely warmed his seat at this school before already starting to fall apart. Ma Long stares at Si Chen in silence. He takes in the look on Si Chen's face, the conviction in his expression, and the weight of the presence coming off him. He thinks about the fact that Si Chen only recently started showing this kind of intensity, and that for the entire time they have been at this school, Si Chen was the one Ma Long looked out for. He sits with it for a few more seconds, then makes his decision. 4 years together, he says, and he is not stopping now. He is in. Shang Zhu follows, saying they are already in deep trouble anyway, so they might as well go all the way and see what a rank D layer actually looks like. His brother immediately gets worked up about being the last one to agree, pointing out that he is supposed to be the head of their dorm. But he accepts too, saying that whether this is madness or not, they are going in together. With that, every member of Si Chen's team is officially confirmed. Si Chen calls out to his friends and apologizes, telling them plainly that he chose rank D because he wants to be the MVP. That gets Gong Yan's attention. Si Chen says they are going to take the highest score together, but Gong Yan cuts him off immediately, making it clear that the MVP title belongs to him. Si Chen turns away as Gong Yan declares that there is only room for one strongest person at this school. Ling Yu watches the exchange with visible surprise, noting that this is the first time she has ever seen that particular expression on Gong Yan's face. Whatever rivalry existed between these two before, it is fully out in the open now. Yuan Long observes that youth has no fear of the unknown. The girl from earlier is less poetic about it. She points out that even if Si Chen is rank C, carrying an entire team through a rank D layer on his own is simply not possible. Yes, the rank D multiplier is 3, which means a theoretical ceiling of 150 points, but the difficulty is several times greater than rank E, and with the current strength of Si Chen's team, this choice is not the sensible one. Wenlong acknowledges that there are only about 2 weeks left before the practical exam begins. There is no time for any real growth in that window. She says she hopes that when the moment comes, Si Chen and his team at least manage to hold their own. 17 days remain before the evaluation starts. Ma Long watches the team spend their days doing something completely different from everyone else. While other students are drilling elemental power and running virtual monster simulations, Si Chen's group is doing something that looks more like raw physical conditioning. Ma Long asks why, pointing out that their graduation exam is not a triathlon. Si Chen explains his thinking. No matter how much they grind elemental power or run virtual combat drills right now, it will not matter, because all of that is controlled practice. When they step into an unknown demon lair and come face to face with a monster they have never seen before, when real fear hits them, what decides the outcome will not be theory. It will not be combos they improvise on the spot either. It will be instinct. The stamina, the explosive power, the reaction speed they are building right now, that is what sharpens instinct. The school's simulations help very little. What actually makes the difference is facing a real demon lair, but ordinary people like them do not have access to real training lairs. Si Chen keeps going. The people with access to every advantage and privilege have always been the ones born into it. They do everything they can to widen the gap between themselves and everyone else, just to stay on top of people they have been above since birth. There are things others cannot reach no matter how hard they chase them their entire lives. Xiangzhou asks what people like them, people who have nothing, are actually supposed to do about that. Si Chen's answer is simple. They walk into the Imperial Guild with the highest score in the exam, and they leap over every class barrier standing in front of them. The graduation evaluation is the one real chance to pass everyone, and it is his chance to pass them too. He tells his teammates that he is going to do everything it takes to keep the promise he made to them, and that they are going to win. With 15 days on the clock inside the Dream Magic Tower, Si Chen wastes no time throwing himself at a lion beast. He takes a hit straight to the mouth and gets hurled back by its claws, but he keeps going. 10 days out, the group is still running drills without rest. Gradually, Si Chen starts picking off the phantom lions one by one, while Gong Yan cuts through monsters with his katana. At the 5-day mark, they are grinding through physical conditioning, and then the days blur past at a relentless pace. 3 days, 2 days, until Si Chen finally breaks through to level 16 by defeating the beasts. With just 1 day remaining, he makes it clear to the group that the real battle is only just beginning. On the day of the practical graduation assessment, a drone addresses all the participants. Si Chen adjusts his gloves as the group gets into position. The drone formally introduces itself, instructs everyone to check their wristbands and confirm their equipment is properly secured, and announces that the evaluation has officially begun. Meanwhile, over at the National University of Awakened, near the administrative building, Yuan Long remarks that it has been a while since he last saw Director Yuan. Gong Lin apologizes for keeping him waiting. The students watching nearby are already stunned just by Gong Lin's presence, recognizing him as one of the co-founders of the Imperial Guild and someone who carries serious weight. But the real question on everyone's mind is who exactly is still inside that car, because whoever it is managed to pull both a guild founder and the university director out to personally receive them. The answer steps out with red hair, Carl Cavendish, vice president of the World Guild Alliance. The crowd can barely believe it. People go their entire lives without ever seeing someone like that in person, and it suddenly makes sense why the administrative building was cleared out today. The Guild Alliance is the single most powerful organization in the world right now, and a recruitment offer from them changes a person's life on the spot. Gong Lin's uncle briefs the group, noting that 184 students are participating in the final evaluation, divided into 28 teams. 23 teams selected rank F demonic lairs, 3 chose rank E, and 2 went with rank D. Sigrid, the Secretary General of the Guild Alliance, raises an eyebrow at that last number. Rank D lairs are classified as dangerous even for full squads, and she wants to know whether the students were properly informed of the risks. The director confirms they were transparent from the start, then lays out the reality plainly. Most of these students are sitting at the lower end of rank E, and they already struggle against ordinary rank F monsters. Taking on a Lord-class monster is a serious challenge for them even in a rank F lair, because a Lord's strength far exceeds that of common monsters at the same rank. In a rank E lair, the situation escalates completely. Every ordinary rank E monster is roughly as powerful as a rank F Lord, which means clearing a rank E lair is, for most of these students, practically an impossible task. Sigrid then asks whether there are any safety measures in place if a student finds themselves in real danger. The professor reassures her that the students are their most valuable asset. Armed Imperial Guild personnel are stationed outside every demonic lair, monitoring everything, and they will intervene the moment a dangerous situation is detected. On top of that, each wristband has a teleport function built in. If a student activates the command, they are instantly transported out of the lair. One student has already used it and withdrawn from the evaluation. Sigrid acknowledges all of that, but circles back to the 2 teams that chose rank D lairs, noting that the school really does seem to be full of talent. She says she is genuinely looking forward to seeing how they perform. The professor, privately, is thinking the same thing, though with a very different expectation. He gives those kids a few minutes before they come sprinting back out. Sichen's group arrives at their location, the Cloud Forest Summit Lair. A phantom bat monkey appears above them. Sichen immediately identifies it as a cloud-type magical beast, explains that they specialize in coordinated aerial assault with fast-diving strikes, and tells the group to stay sharp. The bat monkeys launch their attack at full speed, diving straight toward the group. Sichen calls out a warning to his teammates. Xiang Zuo dodges one of the strikes, and the rest of the group follows suit. They are barely processing the fact that they just survived a rank D attack when one of the bat monkeys drops to the ground. Xiang Zuo stares at it, then calls out to Sichen in disbelief. In a single instant, Sichen has taken down 3 rank D monsters entirely on his own. Sichen makes the call quickly. The way things stand, a direct confrontation with these creatures is off the table. He tells the group to stay close, stay together, and let him handle the rest. Then he launches himself forward in a burst of lightning. The others scramble to avoid the monsters closing in around them, and it is not easy. Xiang Zuo takes a hard hit into a tree, his back slamming against the bark. In that moment, a thought cuts through the chaos. All that time he spent training his reaction speed and explosive movement, he had done it to survive, not because he ever expected to be fighting on the other side of something like this. He had always been the one in charge back in the dormitory, and now here he was, being carried through a crisis by someone else. The bat monkeys keep pressing toward the protagonist, but Sichen cuts through them with almost unsettling ease. Watching it happen in real time, Xiang Zuo has to admit something to himself. When Ma Long had said Sichen was strong, Zuo had not believed it for a single second. But seeing it with his own eyes is a different thing entirely. This guy is far too capable to be just another undergraduate. He carries himself like someone who has already lived through a real war. The trust Zuo feels toward him builds fast, maybe too fast, and before he realizes it, he has fallen behind. Then Xiang Yuo calls out a warning. Another bat creature is coming from behind, but Zuo is already moving. He channels his fire ability, seizes one of the monsters by the leg, and incinerates it with everything he has. As he does, he tells his friends plainly that they cannot afford to become dead weight on Sichen's back. This evaluation is not just about Sichen proving himself. It is their turn too. Xiang Yuo takes that to heart immediately. He agrees with his brother and activates the Flower Nail Prison enchantment, binding one of the bat monkeys in vines. The creature strains against the hold and manages to break free, which clearly catches Yuo off guard. Ma Long steps in without hesitation, casting the Freezing Breeze Cloud enchantment and announcing that he has managed to slow the monster down. He tells the others to move together now. Yuo is not about to let it escape and says as much. The three of them combine their abilities on the bat monkey and shout for Xiang Zuo to go. Zhu winds up, announces that this is it, and fires a converging explosive flame projectile, the kind that belongs to a core mage. The blast connects. The bat monkey screams, its face scorched, but it is still standing. Zuo fires again and again, noting that this thing is absurdly durable. He keeps hitting it, wearing it down, until Yuo warns that they cannot hold the situation much longer. Ma Long confirms they are at their limit. Zuo steadies himself and declares that he is going all in. He names it clearly as his full power strike, a converging explosive flame projectile at maximum output, and lets it fly. The evaluation drone announces the successful kill. The bat monkey is down. The group erupts. They actually did it. They took down a rank D magical beast. Si-Chen looks genuinely surprised. The others can barely believe what they just pulled off, and Zuo plays it cool, saying it was not so bad after all. The protagonist congratulates them on the solid work, and the drone follows up with the confirmation that every common monster in this demonic lair has been eliminated. Back wherever the observers are watching from, the executive director is visibly shaken. He cannot wrap his head around how a group of allies with zero real combat experience just managed to kill a monster ranked above their own level. Gongyan's father says nothing, his expression unreadable. Carl Cavendish, however, speaks up. He says the young man performed exceptionally well. And beyond that, he adds, this particular young man reminds him very strongly of an old acquaintance. Gong Lin is caught off guard when someone asks if the name is Si-Chen, saying they will remember it. Standing beside him is his uncle, the director, who quickly turns the group's attention to the other team, the one that chose a rank D den, which has already reached the intermediate section. Meanwhile, Gong Yan's group keeps pushing forward. Sigrid notes that their coordination is flawless, like a professional guild squad. Carl adds that this year's graduating class is genuinely high level. Gong Xuan watches and thinks to himself that the battle has barely started, and the real show is still coming as the miasma mushrooms begin to advance. A girl strums her guitar and activates the Lament of Decline, calling the group to converge. Another member lines up his own skill, Stellar Attraction, and calls out to his captain. Gong Yan draws his katana and answers with the Blazing Fire Void Cut, slicing through the monsters in one clean motion before sheathing his blade. The rest of the group reflects on how the monsters in this school evaluation feel identical to the ones from Training Easy Pickings. The way they see it, the graduation evaluation was arranged by the Gong family, and with the right support, everything becomes laughably simple. At this rate, first place is already theirs. Back in the protagonist's dungeon, Si-Chen shields his face as the group reaches the top of the demonic den and comes face to face with a rank D ghost monkey. Ma Long wonders aloud if this is the final boss, and Xiang Zuo points out that a single slap from that thing could kill him about 10 times over. The monkey turns toward the group. Ma Long tells it to hold on, says he is looking right at it. That is apparently enough of an invitation, because the monkey charges straight at them. Si-Chen does not wait. He launches forward with an electric kick that connects clean with the monkey's face, sending the creature flying. He goes after it immediately, lands a finishing blow to the head, and splits the ghost monkey apart with his electric blade. Ma Long remarks that it still went down surprisingly easy. The group collects the ice monkey pelt. Si-Chen thinks to himself that killing the lord of a rank D demonic den only gave this little experience, and the drop quality is nothing to write home about. But before anyone can dwell on that, the rest of the group spots something and erupts. Xiang Zuo tells everyone to move fast, because that big creature had a stash of magic crystals hidden inside a tree hollow, and judging by the size of them, they are at minimum intermediate grade. If they take all of this and sell it, they are set for life. But Si-Chen tells them to wait. The moment someone touches one of those crystals, a surge of energy floods the entire area, washing over the whole group, Si-Chen included. It was a trap, an ice explosion bomb. The drone is frozen solid almost instantly, and the squad's signal goes dark. Gongshuan thinks to himself that it went exactly as expected. High-level monsters have intelligence, and now these students' run in the evaluation is coming to an end. Carl raises the concern that the students' lives may be at risk. Gong Xuan agrees and says the priority is rescue, that it is time to send in the guild squad to intervene. But Yuan Long asks them to hold off a little longer. The monitoring bracelets track the students' physical condition in real time, and right now everything is reading normal. There is no indication that any of them have considered giving up. The right to choose, Yuan Long insists, has to remain in the hands of the examinees themselves. Back inside the den, Ma Long sneezes and complains about the cold. He thinks to himself that his cloud-type class gives him some resistance to freezing, otherwise he would have been wiped out entirely. But then a strange voice begins to laugh. Ma Long stares into the darkness and wonders whether what he is hearing is the true boss of this demonic den. Ma Long spots the enemy in his monster encyclopedia and pieces together what they are dealing with. This is a cloud-type mage skeleton king, a rank C boss, a specialist in ice and snow manipulation with a trap already set and waiting. He starts running, knowing full well that a rare boss like this is not something he can handle on his own. Si Chen is frozen solid, and Ma Long decides he has to move fast. Then a spike tears straight through his leg. He hits the ground, groaning in pain, while the Skeleton King throws his head back laughing and raises his palm for another strike. The bracelet registers the wound on his lower leg and asks whether he wants to withdraw from the evaluation. Ma Long refuses. His only thought is that he needs to defrost Si Chen immediately. He activates his purification effect and aims it at Si Chen, reasoning that if Si Chen recovers, they still have a fighting chance. But before the purification can land, his arm takes a hit. He crashes to the ground, and the purification fails. The Skeleton King keeps laughing, hurling ice bone spikes without mercy. The system chimes in again, flagging that his heart rate is dangerously high and that the spike has penetrated his right arm, and once more it offers him the option to quit. Ma Long actually considers it for a moment. He thinks about how every time things got hard, every time fear crept in, he ran. That pattern is exactly why he has always been left behind. But they risked their lives to get here. This is finally a real chance to change his fate. He is not going anywhere. He pours everything he has into Si Chen, channeling the source of transcendence and burning through all of his remaining mana in one desperate push. The Skeleton King keeps firing spikes, but the ice encasing Si Chen begins to crack and splinter. The spikes close in on Si Chen's arms, and Ma Long screams at him to wake up. And then electricity erupts from Si Chen's body. He activates his lightning god form and launches forward. The Skeleton King barely has time to register what is happening before Si Chen rips him out of position and slams him into a rock. Ma Long lets out a quiet breath, noting that in the end, Si Chen broke free on his own. But Si Chen turns and thanks him, asking how bad his injuries are. Ma Long explains what they are dealing with: a rank sea cloud type lord, extremely powerful, and warns that they absolutely cannot let it freeze them again. Then his eyes go wide. A massive ice explosion bomb is already barreling toward them. Ma Long cannot believe what he is seeing and openly wonders how they are supposed to dodge something that size. The Skeleton King is laughing again. The explosion detonates. The entire area is swallowed in snow in an instant. The Skeleton King cackles at the result, but then something stops him cold. A blue energy is radiating from somewhere ahead of him. Si Chen is standing there, having switched to his Funeral Flame King class, his glacial physique rendering him completely immune to the cold. The Skeleton King is stunned. Ma Long stares in disbelief, trying to make sense of what he is seeing. Si Chen is supposed to be a lightning assassin. He mutters that this cannot be real, that this would make Si Chen a 1 in 10,000 phenomenon, a dual-class user. Si Chen acknowledges that his miscalculation put all three of them in danger, and that is exactly why he is switching classes now. He makes clear that something like this will never happen again. The class transition completes. Si Chen stands transformed into the Purgatory Rakshasa demon, and he announces that he is ending this right now. Ma Long is left completely speechless once again. Under normal circumstances, an awakened person can only unlock a single class. But there are extraordinarily rare cases, with odds of roughly 1 in 10 million, where someone ends up with two. Those individuals are known as dual-class users, and across the entire world, fewer than 10 people fit that description. The moment a talent like that is discovered, every major guild sends recruiters running, and Si Chen actually has three classes that Ma Long now knows about, and each one feels terrifyingly powerful. Si Chen's vigor and strength surge to their peak as demonic energy radiates off him. He launches himself forward and closes the distance to the monster in a single second. Ma Long thinks back to that crushing, monstrous pressure the creature had been radiating just moments ago. In front of Si Chen's blade, it vanishes completely. The protagonist tears through the monster with his triple gravity enhancement, and the creature shatters and collapses to the ground in pieces. Si Chen levels up, reaching level 17, and acquires the skill Icebone Skewer. Ma Long remarks that it was exactly what he expected, a rank C boss taken down in a single strike. Si Chen notes that the other two are still frozen solid, and wonders aloud whether Ma Long has enough energy left to free them. Ma Long breaks into a sprint, suddenly remembering they exist, and tells them to hang on. The protagonist marks the fallen monster as consumable, and activates his glutton ability, drawing its full energy into himself. He closes his fist as the process completes. The new class grants increased vigor and elemental power, and Si Chen registers that this is the first time he has ever devoured a class outside of a dream. He turns to the side and considers that the camera drone was frozen in the ice explosion, which means the feed likely was not broadcast to the public. He still has plenty of time to secure a perfect score. A screen materializes in front of him. He has earned one more attribute star for his Lightning Assassin class to distribute. Si Chen is genuinely surprised by the gain, Meanwhile, on Gongyan's side of the dungeon, a massive carnivorous flower boss is hammering the group relentlessly. One of the students holds the line and calls out that this is the raw power of a rank D boss, urging everyone to push harder because they are on the verge of losing control of the fight. Another student points out that the monster's defense is absurd, and their attacks are barely getting through, with arrows doing almost nothing against it. The creature lashes out with its vines. The archer admits that in all their previous training, they never faced a monster at full strength, and the group is scrambling for a solution. Another student tells everyone to trust their president and checks in on how his side is doing, wondering whether enough power has been gathered yet. Two enchanters are channeling their strength directly into Gongyan. Gongyan focuses, then declares that it is enough. He explodes forward in a single leap and drives his blade clean through the plant. Then he gives the order to burn it, right now. The detonation is immediate, his piercing explosion of the blazing blade igniting on contact. The team erupts in celebration, calling out that their president is every bit as strong as they believed. The drone announces that Gongyan's team has successfully cleared the dungeon with a completion time of 35 minutes. The group realizes they finished in under an hour, which puts their multiplier at 3, bringing their final score to 150 points. They decide to head out and check the overall results. In the hallway, Gongcheng points out that even a rank F demon lair, the lowest tier there is, takes at least an hour to clear. So anyone walking out this early, besides their own group, can only be someone who gave up halfway through. Sure enough, a traumatized boy stumbles out surrendering on the spot, begging not to be hit even though nobody is anywhere near him. A girl right behind him says the whole thing was way too terrifying and that those monsters were an absolute nightmare. Gongcheng then spots a group huddled in the corner and immediately breaks into a grin. He figures Sichen's team must have also bailed out early, and he wastes no time calling Sichen out directly, wanting to know how someone who was walking around so full of himself couldn't even finish the evaluation. But Gong Yan cuts him off and tells him to get back over there, because the vice president has arrived and they need to go pay their respects. Carl walks in clapping, saying what he just witnessed was absolutely incredible. He calls it an absurd performance and starts heading in their direction. Gong Chung whispers that this is the man at the very top of the world, and he is coming straight toward them. Gong Yan extends his hand to greet him. Carl walks right past him. He goes straight to Si Chen and tells him that what he did was genuinely impressive. Clearing a rank D demon lair in just 21 minutes is something even guild squads would have struggled with, and he calls it simply absurd. Gongcheng nearly loses it, shouting in disbelief that those people cleared a rank D demon lair, and in 21 minutes no less. Si Chen, for his part, recognizes the man immediately. This is Carl Cavendish, vice president of the World Guild Alliance, and currently considered the second strongest person alive. He quietly wonders what someone like that is doing here. Carl then turns and acknowledges Gong Yan as well, saying the young master of the Gong family also performed admirably, leading a team to clear a rank D lair at his age. He adds that President Gong Lin clearly knows how to raise his son. The founder of the Gong family thanks him politely, but the look he gives his son right after is anything but warm. Carl wraps things up, saying it is getting late and he should be on his way. Before he leaves, he tells the director that he really got lucky this time, because what he has here are twin stars, the kind that only come along once every 1,000 years. Gong Xuan steps forward to announce the official results. With both teams achieving a perfect score, he declares them tied for first place, and every member of both groups will be recruited into the Imperial Guild. The room erupts in celebration. Gong Yan keeps his expression completely cold. The director continues, adding that both captains will take on management positions within the Imperial Guild's core and will split the MVP prize of 1 million between them. Both captains are visibly caught off guard by that. Si Chen does the math in his head. 500,000 each means he promised Qingzhi 1 million within a month, and this arrangement puts him short. He knows he needs to figure something out. Then Gong Yan speaks up. He says there can only be one first place, and he only needs one. He challenges the protagonist to a one-on-one match as a tiebreaker. The entire room goes quiet. Even Carl turns around. Gong Xuan pushes back immediately, saying the evaluation is over, and that tying for first is already the best possible outcome. But the protagonist steps in and lays out his own terms. If he wins, the entire 1 million goes to him. Gong Xuan nearly chokes. Gong Yan agrees without hesitation, telling him that if he can beat him, he can take everything. Carl watches with clear interest and remarks that this spectacle is apparently not over yet. Si Chen then asks the simple question of how exactly they plan to settle this. Si Chen sits down with Qingzhi and gets straight to business. Qingzhi opens by admitting that when he first sized Si Chen up, he figured the kid was strong enough to take first place, but he never imagined he would shatter the record and walk away with a perfect score. Now Si Chen is all over the news, and as far as Qingzhi is concerned, that million was money well spent. He tells Si Chen to forget about paying it back and to treat it as an investment, but Si Chen shakes his head. He came here today with two things to say, and the first is that he intends to repay every coin he owes. He just needs one more week. The reason is that the graduation evaluation ended in a tie for first place, which means he received 500,000 less than he was counting on. There will be an extra individual match between him and the other co-champion, set to take place in a wild demon lair outside the school grounds in 7 days. Once he wins that match, he will have the rest of the money. And as a gesture of good faith for the extra week, he offers to hand over whatever materials he collects inside the demon lair, asking Qingji to consider it interest on the debt. Qingji watches him and thinks to himself that this young man has absolutely no fear of walking into a wild demon lair. His entire focus is on the debt and on paying interest. Qingji concludes that Sichen is genuinely something else. Then Sichen mentions there is a second matter, something even more important. He leans in and says something the panels keep out of earshot, but whatever it is, it lands hard. Qingzhi actually rises from his chair. Meanwhile, far from the city, at Qingshui Secondary School in Kangchang County, Siyun stretches and lets out a satisfied sigh. She just finished her last exam, and summer break has officially begun. She pulls out her phone and then freezes. Today is her older brother Sichen's graduation evaluation. The memory hits her. 4 years ago, Sichen was overjoyed when elemental potential was detected in his body, and he was accepted into the National University of Awakened. Siyun told him he was going to be just like their parents and become an awakened himself. Sichen agreed, saying that with that kind of power he could join a strong guild, earn real money, and maybe even uncover what happened to their mother and father. Siyun told him he was the best, and that he was going to become an incredible awakened. But that was 4 years ago. Now Sichen is in his final year and still has not awakened. Siyun thinks about how he always worked harder than anyone else at that university, and yet he ended up being the only one who never awakened. Watching everyone around him break through while he stayed behind must have been devastating, but he never let it show. Her friend Ju Tong taps her on the shoulder and asks if she heard the news. Apparently, the National University of Awakened just revealed 2 geniuses. Both of them scored perfectly on the evaluation, and the vice president of the Guild Alliance showed up in person to commend them. It is all over the news. Ju Tong asks if her brother does not study there. Before Siyun can process that, a voice cuts in, greeting her warmly by name. The speaker mentions they have reserved the top floor of the Zifeng building and asks if she is free at 8 that evening. Siyun does not answer. She just turns and runs. Ju Tong calls after her, asking why she is sprinting away. Siyun thinks to herself that students at that university are scoring perfectly and appearing on the news, while her older brother could not even awaken. That thought is too painful to sit with. She decides she needs to get home and cook something good to lift his spirits. Back at their rented apartment, the table is covered with food. Sichen walks in and asks when she had time to prepare all of this, remarking on how incredible it smells. The television is on in the background, and a news report announces that the university completed its graduation evaluation that morning, with the vice president of the World Guild in attendance. The anchor reports that the evaluation produced dual champions, and that Vice President Carl personally praised the results before the media, singling out one of the top scorers who achieved a perfect score. The student in question is named Sichen. Siyun spins around, completely stunned, trying to make sense of what she just heard. Across town, in another home entirely, Gong Lin grips a vine and speaks with cold fury. He set the stage, he assembled the audience, and yet his son managed to ruin everything. The boy did not win. He lost to a newcomer who, in Gong Lin's eyes, does not even deserve to be acknowledged. He tells his son that his autonomy is gone. Gong Lin has already arranged the extra practical match for 1 week from now, and since his son cannot handle this on his own, Gong Lin will handle it for him. Whatever it takes, first place will belong to the Gong family. Back on the broadcast, President Carl is singing our MC's praises, calling his performance absurdly impressive, and expressing hope that the country can cultivate more talents of that caliber. Siyun can barely believe what she just heard. She wonders out loud whether they really just mentioned her brother on national television. The protagonist asks her what is going on, and before she can even answer, she drops her spoon on the floor. A moment later, a crack of thunder booms from outside, as if the world itself is punctuating the moment. She sits there processing it all. Her own older brother, the one she always thought was a bit of a fool, not only led his team to a perfect score, but also earned a personal commendation from the vice president of the Guild Alliance. She brings her hand up to cover her mouth. The boy she wrote off has apparently become someone genuinely remarkable. The scene then shifts to the night of the practical evaluation, inside a restaurant. Carl is seated across from a woman named Yuan, thoroughly enjoying himself, remarking that the wagyu from this eastern country is simply the finest he has ever tasted. He asks her how things have been going on her end. Yuan gets straight to business, sliding him a stack of compiled reports covering the past year. She tells him the glutton has left no trace whatsoever during that time, and that he may already be aware of them. But there is one more thing she wants to bring to his attention. She recently flagged a suspicious individual who made contact with the vice president not long ago. The rate at which that particular young man has grown in such a short period of time is, by her assessment, simply too abnormal to be explained by any conventional logic. The story then cuts to inside the Magic Tower. Chen has spent more than half a month on the first floor of the Magic Tower, and in that time he has nearly wiped out every single magic beast the place has to offer. He is now fully adapted to fighting under 10 times the force of gravity. Since the graduation evaluation battle concluded, his Lightning Assassin class has earned 1 star, and consistently using a class is what drives that class forward in strength. That means none of his 4 current classes have hit their ceiling yet. He allocated the star he earned into the attribute that matters most for an assassin, speed, and by now he should be operating at roughly the level of a rank A assassin. Even so, he finds himself completely surrounded by ghost lions, with a Lion King presiding over all of them from a distance. Chen still has not managed to land a single hit on the floor boss. The lions close in on him. He activates the God of Lightning ability and drives straight toward the floor chief. But the Lion King's ability is deeply strange. Every time an opening appears, the boss vanishes instantly and reappears beside whichever lioness is positioned farthest from Chen. The pack adjusts its formation on the fly, but the structure itself never breaks. There are always 2 lionesses assigned to engage him directly, and the Lion King always keeps the maximum possible distance. As a boss, he never commits to a move on his own. Chen finds himself wondering exactly what class this creature belongs to. A lioness charges at him. He readies his lightning ability and fires it straight into her mouth, but she vanishes the instant the attack lands. Every time he pushes to finish off one of the lionesses, she disappears and reappears beside the Lion King. The moment he stops pressing, another lioness rushes in to bait him into an attack. He prepares 2 abilities simultaneously, but the bosses evade once again. They hold their formation with rigid discipline, cooperating in perfect sync, attacking relentlessly, blinking in and out, cycling through the same pattern over and over, grinding him down in a war of pure attrition. Chen keeps fighting without rest, but he can see what is happening. He turns his gaze toward the floor chief and realizes this creature is simply toying with him. Then something clicks. He leaps as high as he can and asks himself why he has been trying to win this on the enemy's terms, fighting a speed battle head on. He switches classes. If they refuse to engage him directly, then there is no reason he cannot approach this from a completely different angle. Why not bring out a mage class and deal with them on his own terms instead? The class switch completes. Chen, now at level 27, steps into the power of the Skeleton King. Chen launches dozens of stakes into the monster horde, forcing the lions to scatter and fall back. Rather than letting them regroup, he presses forward, closing the distance on one of them directly. His read on the situation is sharp. He knows a mage dominates at range through sustained damage and crowd control, so he keeps the pressure on, funneling the lions exactly where he wants them. Then he vanishes, stepping through a portal and reappearing on the other side of a lioness, catching her completely off guard. But the real trap was already in motion. The attack he set up earlier is still closing in, and the moment the Lion King is forced into its range, there is nowhere left to go. The Lion King looks up, startled, just as Chen summons his giant ice explosion bomb. The blast hits the ground with tremendous force, lighting up the entire area in a blinding flash. Lions and other creatures alike are frozen solid in the aftermath. Chen switches classes to the Rakshasa of Purgatory and declares that the battle on the first floor of the Magic Tower ends right here. He brings down the triple gravity tribulation on the Lion King, and the monsters crumple to the ground. A dark energy surges out from his body, then dissipates alongside a wave of white energy as Chen stands before the fallen creatures and farms their aura. He levels up to 24, and since the Ghost Lion qualifies as devourable, Chen immediately uses Glutton on it. He wants to know what its true class actually was. The Lion King's energy rushes toward him and is quickly absorbed by Glutton. Chen closes his fist around it. The answer comes through. The Lion King was a beast tamer, a class capable of forcing contracts with creatures. Chen notes it is the first time he has ever seen that class in action. It makes sense now why the Lion King never fought head-on. With his other stats not being particularly high, he had to rely entirely on his contracted beasts to deal damage. The teleportation ability was a useful tool for that too. The logic of the class becomes clear. Forcing contracts requires intimidation, and keeping contracted beasts means maintaining that pressure constantly. Then the environment begins to shift without warning. Si Chen wonders if this is what the first floor of the magic tower originally looked like, because what surrounds him now is a desolate, barren place. He wants to know what happened here. A portal opens directly in front of him. Si Chen recognizes it immediately as the passage to the second floor and thinks it has finally appeared. But before he can move toward it, a pair of purple eyes watches him from a distance. He turns around. Tucked inside a pile of bones, something is hiding. It is a small, adorable lion cub bound in chains. Si Chen wonders aloud if there is still a stray lion cub somewhere on this floor, and it looks like this one is the last. He thinks it through. He already took the life of the Lion King, but this cub never dissipated, which means it was not one of the Lion King's contracted beasts. There are stellar chains wrapped around its body, and Si Chen suspects it may have been imprisoned by the Ghost Lion King. He activates his lightning energy, illuminating everything in front of the small lion. Then, without hesitation, he simply cuts through its chains. The cub immediately faceplants straight into the ground. Si Chen tells it that he is giving it back its freedom, and that this place should be its home. He says he understands the feeling well, having lost companions and a home of his own. The lion cub looks up at him, visibly struck by those words. Si Chen continues, telling the cub that even if it ends up alone, it should at least keep living well, because he himself has his own floor to get to. But the moment he turns back toward the portal, it closes. A beast contract request comes through. Si Chen turns around to find a notification hovering above the cub. It reads as contractable. The Lion King Leo is requesting to form a contract with him. Si Chen asks the small creature whether it wants to come along with him. Leo responds with nothing more than an adorable little roar. Si Chen lays out exactly what that means, warning that he plans to clear the entire magic tower floor by floor, and that the monsters only get more brutal as they go. The tiny lion holds its ground without hesitation. Si Chen takes that as his answer and agrees to sign the contract. The contract with the Lion King Leo is officially established, and with it a passive ability activates, returning experience and attributes to the master in equal proportion, while also granting the beast's vision. Si Chen tells Leo they move together from here on out, and that Leo needs to stay protected while he is fighting. With that settled, the two of them step onto a new floor of the magic tower. The environment hits them immediately. It is volcanic, all heat and molten rock, and Si Chen remarks that it is so hot he feels like he might melt on the spot. Leo wanders curiously toward the lava, then leaps back the moment it realizes the heat is very real. Si Chen wonders aloud what exactly is waiting for them on this floor. He does not have to wait long. Something comes straight at him. Si Chen spins around at full speed, but it is not enough. He takes a direct hit to the chest before he can react, completely blindsided. Then he wakes up with a jolt. He processes what just happened, stunned that he never even saw it coming, and lost his life in an instant. He wants to know what kind of terrifying combat that was, and what sort of monster is living on that second floor. Before he can dwell on it, Si-yoon calls out from the other room, telling her brother to come eat breakfast. She has put together a genuinely beautiful spread, and Si Chen cannot help but comment on how much effort she put into it. She tells him to remember to wash the dishes after eating and to hang the laundry from the machine in about half an hour, then asks if he knows where she is rushing off to, since summer break has already started. Si-yoon explains it is a summer job. Si Chen reminds her that he told her she could leave the financial side of things to him. She brushes that off, saying her older brother has already built a reputation and she is not about to fall behind, and that sitting around doing nothing during the holidays would drive her crazy anyway. She closes the door behind her, reminding him one more time about the dishes and the laundry.
Si Chen follows through. He washes the dishes and hangs the clothes out to dry. As he does, his thoughts drift to Si-yoon. She has always been like this, living with drive and determination, even though she is clearly still just a teenager. Standing next to her, he is the one who ends up feeling looked after. He thinks about what is coming.
Once the university business is wrapped up, he will have to face the Demon King Ira, and when that time comes, he will not be able to stay by Xiaoyun's side much longer. She is the one person he simply cannot stop worrying about. Then something occurs to him. He touches his forehead, turning the thought over. Maybe he can actually do something about that. A portal opens and Leo drops straight onto his back. Si Chen turns the idea over and realizes it is real. He can summon his contracted beast out of the dream magic tower into the waking world. Leo immediately begins tearing the apartment apart. Si Chen decides that if this works, he can leave Leo with Xiaoyun while he is away, and if she ever ends up in danger, Leo can get to her fast. Xiaoyun has loved dogs since she was little, so a small lion is probably close enough. A crash from the other room cuts his thoughts short. Si Chen opens the door and takes in the destruction Leo has caused. He tells himself it is probably fine. Elsewhere in the city, a security camera lies smashed on the ground. A hunter is backed into a corner, wielding ice daggers and desperately telling the creature not to come any closer. But a claw, one that looks disturbingly similar to Lan Yue's, closes in on him. It drives straight through the man's chest with almost no resistance. The hunter manages one last broken question, asking what this thing is and what kind of monster it could possibly be, before the claw consumes him entirely. Later that day, Xiao Yun makes her way home, muttering that her shift is finally over and that the amount of people buying milk tea during summer break is genuinely overwhelming. She wonders whether her brother will like the flavor she picked up for him. She turns onto the path leading home, but then she stops. She starts to look back over her shoulder, and the color drains from her face when a voice speaks up, telling her she has finally made it here. Jin Duoxin stands there holding out a bouquet of flowers, telling Si-yun he has been waiting for a while. He reminds her that the last time she ran off from school before even seeing his invitation, and tells her not to worry because he has reserved the entire top floor of the Zifeng building again for that evening. Si-yun wants to know how he found out where she lives. Jin Duoxin explains casually that his father is the director of the top hospital, and getting that kind of information is nothing to him. Si-yun tells him plainly that they do not live in the same world, and asks him not to come looking for her again, but Jin Duoxin grabs her by the wrist. He demands to know if she has any idea how much effort it takes to reserve an entire floor of the Zifeng building. And on top of that, he had invited a whole crowd of people, so her not showing up was a massive show of disrespect. Si-yun fires back, asking why she should give him any attention at all, and points out that showing up and lurking around someone else's home like this is genuinely unsettling. Jin Duoxin snaps back, asking who she thinks she is, insisting he has been more than generous with her, and warning her that he could make things very difficult for her in under a minute. Si-yun answers that threat by headbutting him square in the face. She tells him to go to the hospital and get that brain of his looked at, warns him not to bother her again, and informs him that he has completely ruined her day. Later, back at home, Si-yun cradles Leo in her hands, absolutely delighted. She asks where on earth Si-chen found such an adorable magical beast. Si-chen tells her the creature is named Leo, and that he is now her responsibility. Si-yun marvels at the fact that adult male lions are supposed to be the only ones with a mane, yet this tiny little thing already has such a full one. Si-chen watches her with a smile, quietly satisfied that she has clearly taken to Leo, and figures there is nothing left to worry about on the home front. Then his phone goes off. He opens it, and a smile spreads across his face. His proposal for the guild department review has been approved, and his plan can now move forward without any obstacles. In 6 days, he will clear the supplementary test. Out in the suburbs near the Greenlight Forest, Gongshuan lays out the details of the evaluation. After extensive deliberation, it has been decided that the test will take place inside the Greenlight Forest lair. According to the analysis equipment, the lair is ranked D. As agreed beforehand, both candidates will be assessed inside the same demonic lair. Because a wild demonic lair is completely uncharted territory and carries far greater risk than a standard lair, 3 guild members have been dispatched. They will enter alongside the 2 candidates, serving both as protection and as real-time performance evaluators. The final result of this test will be determined entirely by the scores those examiners assign. Gonglin thinks to himself that they need to perform well and make sure everything goes smoothly without leaving any trace behind. Yuan Long notices that the vice president's trip ended 2 days ago and wonders why he is still here. Carl glances at a photo of the 2 candidates and says, "There is nothing more interesting happening anywhere else right now." He remarks that it has been many years since he last witnessed a duel between genuine prodigies, and admits it stirs a certain anticipation in him. Gong Xuan officially declares the individual supplementary evaluation open. It is Si-chen versus Gong Yan, and it begins right now, with both of them stepping through the portal. Si-chen crosses into the other dimension and finds himself surrounded by a vast forest. He stands alongside Gong Yan as Kai-yu observes that this appears to be a flower-type demonic lair. Then a message materializes in front of Si-chen, originating from the demonic core. It carries a warning that a high-risk magical beast has been detected. The warning disappears just as quickly as it came. Si-chen finds himself wondering whether even a rank D demonic lair could be hiding high-level magic beasts somewhere inside. The 2 candidates press deeper into the forest path. Si-chen and Gong Yan walk side by side through the dense undergrowth, while Kai-yu, watching from the monitoring room, notes how thick the fog has gotten and reminds everyone to keep their eyes locked on the candidates at all times. Then something stirs beneath the ground. A rank D venomous ant bursts up from the earth, and Gong Yan has his sword drawn before the creature even fully surfaces. He moves straight at it without a moment of hesitation. Sato observes that the reaction speed is almost too fast, though he adds that magic beasts from a wild demonic lair are far tougher and more vicious than anything the candidates would have faced in a school setting. The ant fires a corrosive venom shot. Gong Yan slices clean through the projectiles mid-air and keeps moving forward without breaking stride. He splits the creature in two, then drives a thrust straight into its chest, unleashing the piercing burst of his burning blade. His katana blazes with the force of the strike. The instructors break it down one by one. Caillou awards 10 points for attacking the instant the beast appeared, and neutralizing every ranged attack before they could land. Yvonne agrees, noting that Gong Yan correctly identified the venom shots and severed the organs responsible, leaving the creature completely unable to fight. Sato adds that he showed no hesitation in following through with a decisive finishing blow. The whole sequence was as precise as a surgeon's scalpel, and against a rank D magic beast from a wild demonic lair, that is genuinely impressive. As for the other candidate, Si Chen, he did not react to the beast at all when it appeared. He simply wandered around the area as if nothing had happened. Gong Yan glances over at him, visibly puzzled. Back near the screen room, Carl calls over to Yuan Long and asks what he thinks Si Chen is actually looking for out there. He puts forward his own theory, that Si Chen is hunting for a way to earn his full score in one move. Si Chen stops in front of a tree. He spots a root at his feet, and something clicks. He draws his lightning weapon and announces that he has found what he was looking for. He drives it straight into the heart of the vines, and the resulting explosion tears through the area. Creatures begin pouring out from underground in large numbers. Caillou cannot believe he just poked a monster nest on purpose. Sato agrees, pointing out that these are rank D magic beasts, and that Si Chen has just put everyone in the vicinity at serious risk. Gong Yan watches, trying to figure out what Si Chen is planning. Si Chen does not slow down. He activates the God of Lightning and launches himself forward at full speed, cutting through every single creature that comes at him. He tears through them one after another without stopping, and when the dust settles, every last one of them is down. The protagonist stands with his weapons lowered as the bodies of the fallen beasts hit the ground around him. The instructors are stunned. They point out that the report listed Si Chen as only rank E, and they cannot wrap their heads around how he just killed that many rank D magic beasts above his own level. Ivan says flatly that there is no way to justify giving this candidate a low score. Gong Yan says nothing. He just quietly calls out Si Chen's name. Back in the room, Carl is thrilled. He says the old man called it perfectly. A showdown like this right at the start of the evaluation. And now the real question is how Gong Yan is going to respond. But Gong Lin, watching in silence, slowly closes his fist. Then the feed starts to break up. The screen fills with static, and the signal cuts out entirely. Yuan Long asks why the signal has dropped again. Outside the demonic lair, a scientist sits at a terminal, still typing, when an anomalous signal registers on the system. The rank classification shifts, changing from rank D to something the system cannot identify. The scientist stares at the screen, unsure of what just happened. Inside the lair, the entrance has vanished. It is simply gone. And then a strange melody begins to drift into the protagonist's ears. He recognizes it immediately. It is the voice of the Demon King of Wrath. Gongshuan reports that the entrance has vanished, and they still have no idea what happened. Only that the equipment picked up a sudden anomaly in the signal. He figures they need to call in reinforcements from their superiors right away, wondering if something has gone seriously wrong inside the den. Meanwhile, the melody keeps resonating without stopping. Gong Yan looks around, completely lost. Caillou asks if the others heard that, and Sato says it sounds like some kind of strange noise. Inside, Si Chen keeps turning the same thought over in his mind. That sound belongs to the Demon King of Wrath, and he cannot understand why it is appearing here now, 5 years ahead of schedule. A high-level organism has been detected, and the demonic heart has already sent out its warning. Something is right behind him. Then the laughter of the Demon King of Wrath begins to fill the air. Sato stares into the thick fog and demands to know what on earth is lurking in there. The Demon King of Wrath steps out from within the mist. He tells them they took the bait perfectly. Sato is stunned, asking whether that monster just spoke. He processes it quickly, recognizing that any beast capable of speaking human language is at minimum upper rank C, and he cannot wrap his head around how something of that level is sitting inside a rank D demonic den. A monster of that caliber is far too dangerous for the candidates. Sato charges forward with his purple axe, telling everyone to get behind him, but his axe is cut clean through. The Demon King of Wrath drives forward with his insect blade, and both Caillou and Ivan freeze in shock. The Demon King moves behind Gong Yan, and before anyone can react, he drives his claws straight through the young master. He declares that he will take all of their lives right here. Gong Yan feels the pain tear through his body, but he responds by slicing off the Demon King's claw with his sword. The Demon King recoils in surprise. Gong Yan follows up with a kick straight to the abdomen, sending the monster stumbling back. Then Gong Yan speaks up, calm and direct. He says the boss attacked him first, and by the priority rule for clearing a demonic den, this one belongs to him. He tells Si Chen to stay out of it. Si Chen activates his demonic heart eyes and reads the situation. Gong Yan registers as middle rank C, while the Demon King of Wrath reads as upper rank. Ivan and Caillou rush over, urging that the young master needs immediate treatment and that the test should be suspended because the boss is simply too dangerous for him. Gong Yan refuses. He presses the burning heat of his flames directly onto his own wound to stop the bleeding. Chen watches, quietly noting how Gong Yan used the heat to cauterize it on the spot. Gong Yan brushes off the concern entirely, saying the fight is not over yet. Both he and the Demon King of Wrath advance toward each other, and Gong Yan draws his weapon. Outside the den, a man explains that there have been cases before where the entrance to a demonic den disappeared like this. It means there are highly intelligent beasts inside who open the entrance themselves, wait for humans to walk in, and then trap them. Gong Xuan asks what they are supposed to do, since there is no way to force the entrance open from outside. Lin Wuke says there is only one way to make the exit reappear, and that is for the people inside to kill the den boss themselves. Gong Xuan figures it should not be too difficult since there is a rank C boss inside, and their group averages around rank C. But Lin Wuke corrects him. The rank D classification is a disguise, deliberately constructed by the boss within. Based on his observations, this demonic den is most likely the true culprit behind the disappearances of awakened individuals that they have been investigating for so long. In reality, this is a high-risk demonic den of rank B. Gong Yan holds his ground as the monster throws attack after attack without a single pause, parrying each strike with his sword and maintaining a clean combat stance throughout. When Ira winds up and charges with its arm, Gong Yan leaps clear of the blow, and the creature drives its hand straight into the ground instead. That opening is all Gong Yan needs. He calls out that the monster's guard is finally exposed, and in one clean motion, he separates its head from its body. The severed head rolls across the ground, and Caillou can barely believe what she just witnessed, asking whether Gong Yan really took down the boss entirely on his own. The consensus is clear. The young master Gong Yan is not someone to be underestimated. Meanwhile, Ivan checks in on Sato, and the heavyset man confirms he was treated in time, but then something on his wristband catches his eye. The connection to the outside world is gone. Ivan checks his own and finds the same thing. Caillou confirms it for the whole group. Every signal has been cut, and even the positioning system is throwing errors. She wonders aloud when exactly the camera drone stopped working too. Gong Yan glances to the side, visibly surprised, and that moment of distraction is almost costly, because Ira is already pulling itself up off the ground. The creature lunges behind the young man, but Gong Yan reacts fast enough to cut it apart into several pieces. Chen registers 200 experience points from the kill. Gong Yan is genuinely puzzled. He clearly took the head off this thing, so how is it still moving? Chen explains that the magical beast they just fought was not the real boss. It had been hypnotized from the very beginning, which is why it kept moving even after losing its life. He tells everyone they need to leave this demonic lair immediately, because if they stay, they will be the next ones hypnotized. Gong Yan wants to know how Chen could possibly know all of that. Before anyone can dig into that question, Sato cuts in, insisting Chen is talking nonsense. A demonic lair of this rank would have a boss no higher than rank C at most, and he refuses to accept that what they just fought was not the real boss. Then a new warning flashes across the protagonist's field of vision. Threads of webbing begin spreading through the space, and a hypnotic melody starts pulling Caillou in. Ivan and Sato fall under it just as quickly. Chen claps his hands over his ears, but he already knows it is too late for the others. He recognizes this sonic frequency better than anyone. In his past life, Ira used this exact type of sound wave. It is the memory he carries of losing Cu. Watching this creature use that hypnotic frequency to strip the lives from countless ordinary humans across an entire monster den. Chen looks to the side, alarmed. The 3 rank C fighters are already moving, walking in the direction of the source. The protagonist concludes that this demonic lair must have some direct connection to Ira, and that they all need to converge on the same point right now. The whole group moves deeper into the lair, warnings continuing to stack up around the protagonist until they come face to face with an enormous creature seated on a throne. Around it sit several nests and scattered blades. Chen works through it quickly in his mind. Just like Ira, the hypnotic sound wave being used here operates on the alpha frequency band. Back when he was preparing to deal with Ira, he had developed an audio countermeasure tuned to the beta band, one capable of canceling it out. But the people around him right now have no anti-hypnosis measures whatsoever. Any one of them could lose their life at any moment. He needs to shut down both threats at once. All the while, Ira keeps calling out from its throne, demanding flesh. Fresh flesh. Rich flesh. The words spilling out of it again and again in an unbroken, hungry loop. In a memory from his past, Gong Yan stands firm, a stick gripped in his hand. His father looks on and tells him he did well, that he won again. Gong Yan is only 8 years old at the time. His father lays out the rule plainly. The winner gets to eat. The loser kneels there through the night. As the hours pass, Gong Cheng's stomach growls with hunger. Gong Yan quietly offers him a piece of bread and tells him to eat. Gong Cheng whispers back to his brother, warning him that if their father finds out, he will be punished again. Gong Yan brushes it off and tells him to just eat. Not long after, a whip catches Gongyan across the face. His father walks toward him and poses a question. He asks whether Gongyan understands how the Gong family reached the position it holds today. The answer, according to him, is simple. He has always been the winner, and only winners have the right to set the rules. The two boys need only follow his. Gongyan pushes back, asking whether that would mean he gets to set the rules if he beats his father. His father just laughs at that. The next day, Gongyan's sword is shattered. He hits the ground, wounded, and makes clear that his challenge was directed at his father, not at the others. He demands to know why his father sent members of the Emperor's squadron to do this. His father explains that true strength is not limited to personal power alone. It also includes the power one holds in one's hands. The rules of the human world, he says, are not as simple as Gongyan imagined, but there is one absolute truth. That truth is to win. The means are irrelevant. Only the result matters. As his son, Gongyan must always come first. Even if it means abandoning everything, he must win. Winning, his father tells him, is the only value he has in this world. Those words stay with Gongyan, repeating in his mind. Back in the Den of Wrath, the scene picks up right where things left off with the protagonist. He channels his electricity, ready to end the boss fight then and there, but Gongyan grabs his hand and tells him to wait. Gongyan, blood dripping from his wounds, says he does not know what method the protagonist used to break free from the hypnosis, but that he managed to hold on to his own consciousness in his own way. He warns that if they act openly right now, everyone in the group will be in danger. He points to the eggs scattered around them. If anyone disturbs those eggs, they will not just be dealing with the boss. They will be facing dozens of rank C magical beasts, and that will cost them their lives without question. Gongyan explains that the boss deliberately disguised this place as a low-level demon den specifically to lure awakened in and drain them dry. The boss will come to them on his own. His suggestion is to stay hidden, wait for the boss to close the distance, and then take him down together. Si-Chen speaks up and says he did not expect Gongyan to have thought that far ahead, but points out a flaw in the plan. The boss does not need to move at all. With a single thought, he can command every hypnotized person in the room to take their own lives simultaneously. Si-Chen activates the God of Lightning and takes out the hypnotized individuals at incredible speed before they can act. The boss notices them immediately and mutters that something must have been mixed into the food. Then the eggs begin to crack. Claws tear through the shells, and creatures emerge that look just like the carcass they encountered before. The boss gives the order, directing the mantises toward the group. The creatures close in. Gongyan declares that it falls on him to put an end to this. But before he can act, the protagonist steps up behind him, telling him that it seems there was a misunderstanding earlier, and that he accepted the additional test. He tells Gongyan to leave this one to him, and his gaze locks onto the top of the area where the boss looms. The protagonist makes his intention clear. That boss is his to handle. Gongyan pushes back hard, insisting there is no way they can win. The strength of this boss far exceeds both of theirs, ranking at minimum B and possibly already touching rank A. His conclusion is firm. They need to pull everyone out and evacuate immediately, because that is the only viable option. The protagonist acknowledges that this boss will not be easy to deal with, but he points out something critical. The gates of the demonic lair have already closed. If they had not, the Imperial Guild Squad would already be on the scene. Gongyan reacts with visible surprise at that observation. The protagonist activates his demonic eye, scanning the boss carefully. He cannot get a read on its rank. He reasons internally that if it truly is rank A, its combat power would be on par with the Ghost Lion King from the Magic Tower. Before either of them can think further, the praying mantis monsters surge toward them. The protagonist intercepts the first strike, deflecting it with a bolt of lightning. A second creature tries to flank him from the side, and Gongyan shouts a warning, slashing into it while the protagonist handles the other. More monsters come pouring in from every direction. Gongyan warns that with numbers like these, they will eventually be worn down. But the protagonist is already building power, channeling his electric blade and releasing it in a wide arc directly into the swarm. The attack punches clean through dozens of the mantis creatures at once. He then surges forward using the God of Lightning, cutting down 3 more in rapid succession. Gongyan watches in disbelief, struggling to process what he is seeing. The assassin class is known for low raw strength, and being surrounded like this should be a catastrophic disadvantage, yet the protagonist is hitting every vital point with surgical precision, compensating for the lack of brute force through pure speed and technique. The speed he is moving at right now, Gongyan estimates, is at least on the level of a rank A fighter. Gongyan grips his sword and steadies himself, thinking that maybe, just maybe, they actually have a shot at winning this. The boss has seen enough. It declares that this has gone on too long and activates its supreme enhancement. The mantis creatures under its command surge with renewed vigor and strength, launching themselves at the protagonist at full speed. The boss of Wrath gives the order, demanding they tear the protagonist apart. Si Chen reads the incoming strike and sidesteps it with ease, dismantling the attacker with just a few clean cuts. Gong Yan tells himself to hold the line. The protagonist keeps pressing forward, striking monster after monster without pause. Then one of them creeps up behind him. Si Chen reacts faster than it can move, turning the tables and landing several rapid cuts on the creature before it can follow through. Another monster pivots and catches the protagonist with a heavy arm strike, sending him skidding back a step. Si Chen takes stock of the situation. These magically enhanced beasts are operating close to rank B in terms of raw attributes. Their shells are extremely hard, and hitting the vital points cleanly is no longer straightforward. He needs to find a way to break through that armor. But then Gong Yan calls out to him with gratitude. The time the protagonist bought him was exactly what he needed. His final attack is fully charged. Zhu Tong arrives at the rented apartment with apologies, explaining she ran a little late because she stopped to pick up drinks. Si Yun tells her not to worry, that her brother still hasn't come home. Zhu Tong asks whether her brother even knows yet that she passed the Art Academy exam. Si Yun says she told him she had something important to share today, and that he might be back late. Then she notices they're out of garlic sauce. She tells Zhu Tong to wait at the apartment while she heads out with Leo to grab some, and she figures she'll pick up a snack while she's at it. At Ji's convenience store, the payment goes through without a hitch. Si Yun makes a quiet observation about Leo, noting how well-behaved he is. He doesn't make a sound or squirm around in her bag. She makes a mental note to buy him some biscuits next time, but somewhere in the alleyways nearby, someone is watching. One man tells his partner that he's had eyes on her for a while now, and asks if they should move in. The other voice tells him to hold off, to wait until she's out of the camera coverage area before they do anything. Si Yun keeps walking in the direction of home, unaware that the men are trailing her step for step. She picks up on it though, quietly noting to herself that these guys have been following her since she left the store, and wondering what exactly they want. Leo lets out a low growl, and Sion asks him quietly if he sensed the danger too. She tells him to stay tucked away and out of sight. It seems like the two of them are about to find themselves in the middle of something. Back at the den, the scene picks up right where Si Chen left off, with Gong Yan winding up for his finishing move. He declares it his ultimate killing strike, confident that even a rank A boss won't survive it, let alone leave anything behind. The praying mantis creatures are incinerated on the spot, reduced to nothing but dust on the ground. The strike then cuts toward the boss itself, the full force of the blow closing in. The explosion goes off. Gong Yan drops to his knees, completely spent, and breathes out that it's finally over. He looks out at the devastated den in front of him, the fight seemingly done. Then the boss speaks. It asks if that was truly everything Gong Yan had. Both men snap their heads up in disbelief. The monster tells them plainly that they are nothing but worthless humans. Gong Yan processes what just happened. He threw everything he had into that strike, and the boss doesn't have so much as a scratch on him. Si Chen figures it out a moment later. In the instant before the blow landed, the boss drained the power from every magical beast in the den and used it to form a high-resistance defensive barrier around himself. Gong Yan mutters that, this is it then, that they're going to die here. But Si Chen calls out to him and proposes a deal. Gong Yan can take the credit for the victory, and Si Chen takes the loot. There is only one condition, and it's non-negotiable. Whatever happens next, Gong Yan cannot breathe a word of it to anyone. Gong Yan stares at him and asks whether Si Chen is actually a dual-class user. The energy from every defeated creature on the ground begins to get pulled inward. Si Chen activates the Ruin of All Bones, the Rakshasa of Purgatory class ability, and the power surges through him, shattering everything in the immediate area around him. Gong Yan is completely stunned. Ira doesn't even flinch. Si Chen reminds them both of something he said before. This boss belongs to him.